all systems go. We're all situated. Hello, Paris. Fucking sound in Adastra. The music is so... music is so just too loud by any and all metrics. Hello, friends. Welcome back to another fabulous episode of Big Boy Broy. I'm your host, Moshe Dale. Today we are back to Adastra, which is, of course, everyone's favorite furry visual novel. I got up kind of late today. I did a lot of... I did get a bunch of stuff done in terms of, like, you know, mostly scheduling and some contact with my new employers, but still woke up kind of late, so I'm kind of having a little... I'm basically having, like, a extended dinner to make up for not really having breakfast for lunch. But To answer your question from my Discord, Paris, uh, we just finished getting absolutely railed by Amic. Well, not railed by Amicus. We just, you know, it was just some light dick slapping. Um, and so I know what comes next for the record. For the most part, because I've read through this before, or I listened to someone on YouTube do a reading of it, so you know. Also, Paris, would you or anyone else who's watching right now, if anyone wants to you know, what's it called? Anyone else wants to read along with? A bunch of people requested that. Oh. If people still want to do that, like, you can, just, like, you know, let me know. Now's the time to get into it as well. Okay. Family's home, so you can't. Family doesn't want to hear you reading the VN. Oh my god, that's a juicy ass watermelon. Mm. I probably should have a napkin with me. I'm not the smartest Moshe on the Moshe tree. I'm gonna wait a little bit till more people come in, but I don't know. Hit a sec. Oh, sorry for the slight delay. We're trying to make sure that everything is set up. Hmm. Let's see here. Like, if anyone wants to read along, you're more than welcome to. But please let me know so I can get you in to do voice stuff. So let's tab over to the Adastra slides. Hello, it's me. It's Moshe, your hostess with the mostest. Oh yeah. Adastra. There we are.
There we are.
There's our beautiful intro. I definitely need to make sure I have something to wipe my face with. I'll be right back, everybody. Don't go anywhere. Oi. This tissue box, because your boy is very snuffly all the time. Okay. I hate this. I hate my life. Ugh. I hate my nose. I'm what they call the yappity boy. Oi. Super snuffly. So, picking up where we last left off. The headset is tangled. My favorite part of Adastra is when the headset gets tangled and they have to go buy a new headset at Home Depot. Fuck. Can't really change this. Hello, airport. Welcome. Glad you finally decided to show up. You and other people are the assholes who voted for me to do this. Way back when. So, happy to have you join us. So, where we left off. First two trials are over. It was looking bad, but we managed to come out on top due to a few technicalities, and theoretically Amicus is about to become Emperor. We got Aviapox, and they fucking forgot. Amicus completely forgot to vaccinate us for it. So yeah, we literally we were basically dead, and then the weird people in space who have been talking to us. Apparently they want us alive. They need us alive for something. So they, after tripping and realizing that these mysterious space people, known only as the parents, they made sure that we didn't accidentally kill Amicus in the spaceship back in part 1. And they've been doing all kinds of weird stuff behind the scenes to make stuff work. And so they brought us back to life. And so there's been a little on and off thing, of course, about falling in love with Amicus and the main character, main character and Amicus realizing their feelings for each other. And finally, we fucked. Yeah. And this is the night after so we're picking up after the fucking. I immediately die the day you get back to Earth. I'm not gonna spoil that. Get that alien D. It's not really an alien so much as just free shit. So I don't know exactly where we're gonna be here when we pick back up. I forget exactly whether or not we're gonna be seeing nut stuff. So for right now, we're gonna have Professor Zizek is going to help us with the censorship here. Let's get right into the furry stuff. Trying to... Okay, where's the last thing we got from? Even though I'm a bit out of breath, I'm kind of amused at how much Amicus is gasping, sounding like he just ran a marathon. He really put everything into that. You... I hold his head against mine, turning to kiss him on the cheek. Me? You are incredible. I'm sorry, I need to get my Amicus voice back. It's a deep rumbly Italian voice because they are a Roman wolves on the moon. Oh. There's nothing on screen here, but I don't want to risk nude Amicus right now. Thanks. You're really something too. A good something? A very good something. We lay there quietly for a moment, Amicus propping himself up a bit on his knees and elbows so his entire weight doesn't rest on top of me. But that's the hot shit! That's the hot shit. When your big ass man just lying on top of you, that's the hot shit. That's just, that's what you want. How are your legs? Burning. Probably the most intense exercise that my thighs have been through. But it was worth it. Again, we lay there quietly as Amicus just sort of strokes my hair. I'm still terrified that this is a dream. I hug him more tightly to my body, almost forcing him to fall on top of me. I'm here, and I'll be here in the morning when you wake up. You'd better, otherwise I'll never forgive you. His speech slurs a bit as he whispers into my ear. I look at him. So exactly how drunk are you? The wolf shrugs, slowly rolling off of me, cold air hitting the fluids on my stomach. Yep, there's Amicus Dick. They didn't show us any Amicus Dick, and then suddenly we get the Amicus Dick. You see, this is like, You guys can't see it, but Amicus Dick. I'm fairly sober now. Shall we wash up? He reaches out a paw and I take it, slightly surprised as he pulls me up to be carried in his arms like I'm his new bride.
Bitch, you are.
We go to the shower and wash up again, even more slowly than we did the first time. When we come back to bed, Amicus continues to dote over me, hardly ever letting me go at any point. I can tell that he is legitimately worried that this isn't real, and I feel the same way. After everything that's happened, this doesn't seem possible. Eventually, I lay in the bed next to him, and he spoons me tightly against his body. He's extremely warm, but with no blankets and the cold air drifting down on top of us, it's perfect. Pretty soon I'm drifting off to sleep, listening to the wolf's soft snores in my ear. Thankfully, I don't dream. Okay. Oh. Next step. No. No. Airport. Airport. I've already deleted it. It's gone. It's absolutely gone. I'm still getting messages from work. God damn it, work. Let me read my furry porn in peace, please. Correct. It's mostly not porn. Most of it is it's literally like it's just for most of it is furry Star Wars basically. It's a space opera. So, if you want to, read along with some of the characters, we're getting into drama pretty soon. This next part that's coming up right now. So wait, there's only been 2 sex scenes so far. We just finished one of them. Want to read this next part? If you want to read along, if anyone wants to read along or play the part of a character, let me know. We can arrange that. The story is a cosmetic. Airport. How could it be a cosmetic if the story is like 90% of it, and then like, the sex scenes don't particularly take very long. Yeah, the next line is drama. Well, in any case, continuing. Get up! I jump the same time I feel Amicus jolt against me. I don't know if we're getting nude Amicus, so, yet, but we're gonna take away Professor Zizek. We're taking away Zizek, so we're gonna see what we get here. At the same time I feel Amicus jolt against me. We both struggle to sit up while pulling the covers up around us.
Out of the bed!
The jarring appearance of Kato has me staring at him in surprise, unsure of what to do. Amicus immediately moves, though, pulling me off the bed with him, standing slightly in front of me as he hands me the blanket to cover myself up. We both stare at Kato, the old wolf actually shaking with fury.
Make yourself decent, Amicus.
Amicus hurriedly snatches up underwear from the dresser, giving me one of my own as well. As I'm struggling to tie mine on, I notice Cassius standing in the doorway, something shiny and flashing with lights in his paw. He doesn't have the usual sour look on his face, though. Instead, he looks almost scared. Kato lets us stand in silence for a moment before turning his head toward the door.
Felix, enter.
No, I'm mixing up my Kato voice with my Cassius voice a little bit. Sorry, guys. It always takes me a little bit to sink back into the voices because there's like usually a week or 2 or 3 between these readings. I hear shuffling around the hallway, and Cassius moves to the side to allow a neatly robed wolf to enter. He looks about as old as Kato, though nowhere near as big. He moves timidly, looking about with his ears down.
Yes, your Imperial Majesty? Is that the alien you treated for avian pox?
Kato jerks his head at me, keeping his eyes on Felix. Felix turns to look at me, and I can tell that he's trying to think of the right thing to say. Finally, he just gulps and nods his head.
Yes, I treated him 3 nights ago for avian pox. And his species has no profile. No, I could only tell that he was a primate. How is he conscious?
It's a good question.
Come, escort the Felix to the dungeons.
Yes, Kato.
What? Why? Why to the dungeons? Your Majesty!
Felix looks imploringly at Kato before the probes enter. Proceed to the hall or risk being shot, Felix.
Please, what is happening?
Even while he speaks, Felix backs away out of the room, Kato completely ignoring him. We all listen to the doctor's stumbling steps out in the echoing hall, the wolf making an attempt to ask Cassius what's happening before things fall silent again.
Cassius, come in and close the door.
Cassius, looking even more scared now, steps inside and allows the door to close. Kato stares at the two of us. At this point, Amicus has one paw on my arm, keeping me firmly halfway behind his back. I'm still able to look around his shoulder at the furious acting emperor. Slowly, I'm starting to realize what might be happening right now, and Cato's next words confirm it.
Amicus, did you make a first contact?
Amicus is silent for a beat, but responds in a strong, confident voice. No, of course not. What in the world are you talking about, Cato? Cato stares, jaw clenched, then screams at us at a volume I didn't think he was capable of. I'm not going to be able to scream, so you guys just have to use your imaginations here.
Do not play games with me, Amicus.
To his credit, Amicus only jumps a little bit, but jumps only a little bit, his grip still firmly on my arm. The silence that follows rings in my ears as Cato seems to work to calm himself down. When he speaks again, his voice is barely above a whisper.
He is unprofiled. All children, abandoned or not, are profiled. He is not a simian. So what is he?
Amicus is frozen, and I feel my stomach drop, like I'm going to piss myself. I see Cato working his jaw.
And is it true he's your lover?
Lover? How would he know anything about that? Amicus doesn't answer this time, and that seems to be enough for Cato.
Fine. Do not answer. We will take the correct precautions. Come!
Yes, Cato.
Terminate Marco.
No! Amicus simultaneously throws himself in front of me while reaching back and hugging me to him with both paws, backing me against the wall. Drones begin to enter the bedroom, but Cato barks out another order.
Pause last directive.
Pausing last directive. My view is obscured now, but I can hear Amicus's heavy breathing, his heart hammering so hard I can feel it through his back. Once again, Cato allows the silence to stretch out before speaking.
Then tell us the truth, Amicus.
You must not harm him. Otherwise, I will give you nothing, and I'll have you thrown in the dungeon when I become emperor. More silence. I wince, wondering how that could possibly have been the right thing to say. Then I hear a low growling sound, one I'm sure is coming from Cato.
How dare you? You think you'll become emperor after this? In fact.
I hear a quick movement, and the next thing I know, Amicus is wrenched from in front of me. I watch as he slides across the floor before Cato pounces on him, pinning him there.
Cassius, grab the alien. Set the Nervo to lethal.
No, please! I'm frozen, but I manage to look over at Cassius, who seems just as frozen as I am, holding up the Nervo in his trembling paws.
Move, you idiot!
Cassius jumps and hurries over to me. I start to pull away, but he grabs me up in an awkward hold, setting the Nervo against my neck. No! Amicus struggles double, and Cato is bucked around like he's on a mechanical bull.
Cease struggling, Amicus.
No, sorry, that's more of Cassius's voice. I'm trying to... Now that Cato actually has some energy, I'm having a hard time finding the voice for him. Execution time? Maybe.
He will not be harmed if you do as I say.
Amicus seems to calm down a bit at that, panting wetly against the floor, as he looks straight at me, face full of desperation.
You've proven yourself to be an incompetent fool, even more so than I originally thought. You've endangered our entire empire. For this, you will not become emperor. Rules be damned. It's a wonder how you thought you'd get away with this. It can only be a miracle that the monitors have not found out, and they surely would if you became emperor with that thing.
Cato stands and wrenches Amicus to his feet, twisting the other wolf's paws behind his back hard enough that Amicus lets out a bark of pain.
The third trial begins today. You will lose, and Cassius will be emperor.
Cato begins to push Amicus to the doorway.
Do as I say, and I will let the alien live. Otherwise, we could do all of this in the most unpleasant way possible. Understand?
Amicus is quiet until Cato shakes him by his pinned arms. Oh, yes.
Good. Now to the amphitheater. We'll do this quickly. Do not make any stupid moves, otherwise I will let the drones escort you instead.
Cato presses Amicus toward the door. I see Amicus glance back at me, the look on his face one of utter helplessness. They're out the door by the time Cassius realizes he's supposed to be following. He jumps before awkwardly pushing me after them. God. It's already sunset when we get to the amphitheater. We must have slept for most of the day. Amicus and Cato are already standing in the center of the amphitheater as Cassius struggles to move me down the steps.
Sit him down, Cassius, and get down here.
Shakily, Cassius plants me down on one of the stone steps before suddenly undressing. That's when I notice he's tucked the Nervo into his waistband. Possibly because of the frantic nature of the whole situation, Cassius seems to have forgotten it, and I watch it fall into his clothing as he drops it from his waist. He then stumbles his way down to the center. Amicus, meanwhile, stands stiffly next to Cato, his paws clenched, and I feel my heart sink as I see the look on his face. He has no idea what to do. Several camera drones have followed us to the amphitheater, their lights glowing an ominous red. For several moments, Cato watches them arrange themselves around the small theater, their lenses flashing in the fading light.
Cato? What, Cassius? There was no trial scheduled for today. How will this be broadcast anywhere? This will not be live. I'll think of a reason to tell the people later. We only need a single clip of you being victorious.
They will never believe this. Though Amicus is putting on a brave face, I can hear his voice shaking.
Pugno is a combination of skill and luck. It's not always the strongest that wins. We will manage.
And how? Cato suddenly whirls on Amicus, throwing a punch so hard into his jaw, the other wolf spins almost 360 degrees before collapsing on the hard floor of the amphitheater. I'm standing up without even remembering doing so, heart hammering in my throat as I look down at Amicus. He doesn't move. Meanwhile, Cato shakes his paw lightly, like it only stung a little bit. Cassius, on the other hand, is clasping both his ears in his paws, staring down at his brother in a mix of shock and horror.
Cato, what are you doing? Making it look more authentic, is all.
Amicus stirs on the ground then, groaning and pushing himself up. I see dark spots forming under his face, blood dripping from his nose. A camera drone drifts down slowly, filming Amicus as he spits blood. I realize then I have to do something. I've been told to sit on the sidelines for far too long, and then I'm not entirely convinced that I'm going to be okay after this. I'm a risk to the entire Empire. Why would Cato let me live after I'm done being useful? I have to do something. So I quietly sit back down and lean over to reach into Cassius's pile of clothes, quickly finding the Nervo and pulling it out. And I stand back up again to take a step forward and no one downward. I know words. I can read, I swear. I stand back up again to take a step downward, and no one seems to notice.
Come on, Amicus. Get up. You need to grapple with Cass. Why didn't we just use the makeup instead? There is no time.
Cato finally bends down to grab Amicus under the arms and heave him up to his feet. The big wolf, left to stumble unsteadily, blood running down his chin.
Cassius, get Amicus in an ankle lock and drop him. That should be enough.
They set up their scene even though Amicus seems almost completely out of it. All of them are distracted, and I realize this might be my only chance. Slowly, I take one step at a time down towards the center of the amphitheater. Meanwhile, Cassius is struggling to pick up Amicus's leg, almost losing his own balance as he does. After that, Cato tells Amicus to fall back, which the wolf does slowly. Cassius pins him on the ground after that. I don't think it looks convincing at all. Alright, I just realized I still have the oh no on. We don't need the oh no. I'm an idiot. I mean, the oh no is apt because, like, there's a lot of oh no going on here, but no one's naked. We should be good. But that doesn't really matter now, as I'm only a few steps from the ground floor.
Now, stand and raise your paws in victory, Cass. Look proud.
At this moment, things start to move in slow motion. Amicus is flat on his back, but he's looking right at me. There's a questioning look in his eyes, then a pleading one as if urging me to step back. I don't. Instead, I take the final step down onto the floor of the amphitheater, just behind Cassius, moving towards Cato. But the white wolf continues to celebrate his pretend victory, and he turns with raised paws to face me. I see the sudden recognition on his face. I run out of options and jam the Nervo right into his chest.
Why did you hit Cass? You were supposed to hit Cato! You fucking moron!
Oh my god. Fucking Christ.
You should have hit Cato!
Why don't you hit Cato? Battle music's too loud. Instantly, Cass is shot backward several feet to crumple next to Amicus, shivering and convulsing. Before I can even turn to Cato, though, the old wolf is on me, grabbing the Nervo out of my hands and pulling me close by the front of my robes, my teeth clacking together with how fast he does it. He's looking at the Nervo rather than me, though.
Damn it. Thank the gods the idiot didn't have it set on lethal.
Cato fiddles with the device and I realize he's about to use it on me. I struggle. Kicking at the massive wolf, but he's stronger. He's strong. Stronger than even Amicus. But just as he flips the device around, the two metal prongs pointed at my face, I see a paw come over the top of Cato's head. Amicus grips into the metal grating of Cato's face mask, fingers locking into the gaps before he pulls. Cato screams and I hear a horrible mix of crunching, tearing, and an electronic hiss as I see red spurt from the old wolf's face for just a moment before he goes down. Amicus stares at me with wild eyes as he tries to keep Cato pinned.
Marco, run! Run to Neferu! Run!
I stare at Amicus numbly for a moment in which I want to do so much, but can't, then turn and start to run. I run as fast as I can, disappearing behind the trees and bushes, just as I hear Cato yelling for Calm to execute me. Hearing that, my whole body numbs up. I can barely feel my feet hitting the ground, pumping my arms as I tear through the garden. I don't even bother with the paths, instead crashing through the foliage and bushes, scratching up the skin on my arms and legs as I trample over something covered in thorns. I don't even care as I run straight through a 10-foot wide spider web, the massive spider in the middle hitting my chest, and then falling and disappearing under my feet. The sound of Cato and Amicus struggling behind me has long since faded. Now all there is my heavy breathing and the snapping and crashing of the plants around me. I wonder if maybe I should stop making noise, try to hide instead, but I worry that Calm will know exactly where I'm at. I know they're following me right now, and ominously, I can't hear a damn thing. I can't see them either, just the flashes of branches and greenery around me. When I finally make it to the main path to the palace, I catch my first glimpse of the drones. They're hovering further up the path toward the amphitheater. It makes me wonder if they're stuck on a grid somehow and have been unable to follow me into the actual garden. I think about turning back and trying to hide in the garden again, just as I rush through the entrance, but I realize immediately they're too close. Sure enough, I hear a crack behind me as I turn the corner of the main hall toward Neferu's room. I get a glimpse of it out of the corner of my eye. I'm not sure what I expected the weaponry to be. A red laser, an arc of electricity, actual bullets maybe? What I do see is a strange bending of the air in the space I had just been a second ago, like looking through a warped piece of glass before suddenly it snaps back into place, making my ears pop and throwing my body sideways. I stumble, but I don't stop. Neferu's room just a few dozen feet ahead of me. Now I can hear the drones, an odd, angry, buzzing like wasps. Halt, Marco. I hear Calm's gentle, calm voice. A stark contrast to what he's actually doing right now.
I'm sorry, I can't do that, Marco.
Beautiful. Look, I will say this. 90% of the time, Marco is actually incredibly smart. Smarter than most other, like, protagonists in a story like this. I think Marco's really smart. But that time, this is the dumbest decision Marco has made. Like, most of the rest of Marco's decisions are pretty good. And he's a thoughtful, independent character. But the fact that he didn't go for Kato is just so fucking stupid. It startles me, and I put on an extra burst of speed just before I reach Neferu's door. I can only hope that he's there, otherwise I'm going to be cornered. It'll be where I die. With my breath wheezing through my throat, I throw a hand up desperately, pressing it to the black panel on the door. Nothing. It doesn't open. It's locked. I thought doors don't lock here? I see the drone out of the corner of my eye, and I pound on the door as hard as I can, screaming as loud as I can. Neferu! Neferu, help! Thanks for the bits. There's a pause, and I hear something to my right that sounds like static, getting louder and louder, and I press myself against the door, waiting for whatever it is the blast will do to me. Also, Seawolf. No, porn protagonists aren't... This is not primarily a porn, and second off, again, Marco's been pretty smart throughout all of this. The only real mistake that he's made, for the most part, is simply, the only real mistake he made was not hitting Kato right there, honestly. Also, Seawolf, if you want to... Do you want to voice any of the characters? Because if you do, I can arrange that. Just let me know. Let me know and I can make it happen. Then I'm falling through space. I'm convinced that I've died and that this falling sensation is what it's like to die. Will I land on something or just fall forever? I get my answer almost immediately as I hit the ground face first on the hard marble floor. I'm dazed as there's a sharp crack behind me and I feel the force of it sending a gust of air over me. Oh, what the... Right. Neferu's voice, the one voice that's super hard for me. God damn it. It's existing? Wow. Why are you so mean to Marco? Marco's a good boy. Actually, the other big mistake Marco made is he's studying Roman history, but he hasn't studied Latin. That makes no sense. What is Neferu's voice again? I remember it being sort of a... It was like a little bit of a Tim Curry sort of, but with sound over the a slight change of vowels over the R's, which made it sound a little bit more foreign. There we go. Makes a big mistake later on, but no spoilers. Damn it, Paris. Stop trying to undermine me. I'm sticking up for my man, Marco. Neferu's voice yelps above me, and I hear the sound of the door sliding shut. Come, what is going on? Disengage your door's security measures, Neferu. What's happening? Neferu is crouching over me now, and I think he's talking to me, but Calm answers him instead as the jackal starts to help me to my feet. The child is to be terminated. Please disengage security to allow drone's entry. What? No. Marco. No. What's no? Marco. What's happening? The Pharaoh has pulled me to my feet at this point, looking me right in the eye. I find myself way more out of breath than I thought I was as I try to gasp out an answer. Amicus lost emperorship. Neferu, open the damn door! Cato's voice crackles through the speakers above me, making me jump. It's strained and breathing heavily, and I wonder what he's doing right now. What Amicus is doing. The jackal pushes me to stand behind him, keeping himself between me and the door. Even though he's got his face set into a stern glare, he's as calm as he always is. Cato, what a pleasant surprise to hear your voice. May I ask why you want entry into my quarters?
The Emperor's quarters, you dog. Come, override door security.
Overriding security? God, my nose is on fire right now. This is awful. I know, just stating the truth. No. I maintain that Marco's a pretty smart protagonist, okay? There's a hiss and a click from the door and suddenly it slides open. Quickly, Nefero backs into me, much like Amicus did earlier this morning, and I find myself pressed back into one of the pillars, the jackal's body almost entirely covering me up. Although I know Amicus is a good deal bigger than Nefero, I'm still struck by the jackal's size now that he's so close to me. Step aside, Nefero, or risk being shot.
Don't shoot the jackal. Nefero, what are you doing with it?
Cato is breathing heavily, and it sounds like he's moving around.
Can't see a damn thing. Have you called a ship?
Yes, your Imperial Majesty.
Alexios!
To be fair, I knew that this... I know that this is the plot point because I've read it before, but I fucking hate Alexios so much. Also, Paris has redeemed Iwu, so,
Iwu.
There, hope you're happy. There's more muffled moving around, and I wonder what Cato's speaking into. Maybe a drone.
Nefero, I asked you a question.
Simply protecting a fellow Chemian. There's a moment of silence. Again, I'm sorry. I'm gonna... Neferu's voice is the hardest, so I gotta, like, jump around it a little bit. I'm gonna jump around before I really settle on it.
Oh, what?
Chemian. Neferu enunciates very slowly, and I look up at the back of his head. Just as confused as Cato.
Ah! Don't press so damned hard, cat. What do you mean, Nefero?
Cato's voice takes on a more growly tone as he turns his attention from whatever he was doing back on us. I mean that the child has been granted citizenship in the Chemian kingdom, and it would be unwise to attack him. Farah's voice takes on an almost smug... His voice is always smug! Shut the fuck up. An attack on him would be an attack on us all. Surely you understand this, Emperor.
You lie.
Would you like to test that? There's a long pause. Long pause. In the meantime, a low, rumbling sound grows, audible not only through the intercom, but through the floor of the palace as well. The ship is arriving, Your Imperial Majesty.
Yes, I can see that, cat. Nefero.
Another long pause.
We will discuss this once I'm back at the palace. I don't know what you and Amicus...
Sorry, I missed a word. Again, I don't know how to read.
We will discuss this further once I'm back at the palace. I don't know what you and Amicus have planned, but know that I'll be keeping a very close eye on you. That creature is not to leave the palace.
The wolf suddenly grunts, and I hear the voices of other wolves as well.
I'm fine. Just get me to the hospital.
There are more sounds of movement, grunting, cursing, and voices of concern before the wolf speaks to us again.
And remember, you have no way off this moon at the moment. It would be wise to do as I say.
Of course, Your Majesty. Cato grunts.
Come, Cancel's directive. Execute Margot if he tries to leave the palace.
Yes, Cato. The connection suddenly cuts off and the two of us are left to stand in silence. Finally, Nefero lets out a long, soft sigh. Damn. The jackal finally takes a few steps forward before turning to face me. Well, this situation is less than ideal. I've received news that
You somehow rose from the dead last night, and now this. Come, send us the physician. Even though I've caught my breath at this point, I realize that I'm sweaty and covered in scratches. Cannot comply with directive. Felix is currently in the dungeons. What? Why? Under the orders of the Emperor, Neferu. Damn. This time the jackal says it out of amazement rather than annoyance. Well, send bandages and a salve, at least. Is that, how do you pronounce it? Is that salve or salve? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm a gay lord. Och nein! Airport, was hast du gemacht? What's an Airport hat Krautmod aktiviert. Also ich muss fast alles auf Deutsch lesen für die nächste Minute. Scheiße! Ich hasse dich so viel, Airport. Jawohl, Neferu. Marco, was ist passiert? Wo ist Amicus? Noch ein paar Mal mehr Atem. I don't know how to. I can't translate all this very well. Ich fange an, alles zu erzählen, was schon passiert ist. Zuerst waren wir. Also, gotta find a good way to say this. Zuerst, wann Keto uns gefunden hat. Und zuletzt, wann ich Keto angegriffen habe. Und dann hier gekommen bin. That was horrible. That's some of the worst German I've ever read. I hate you so much. I can't. Some of the stuff's. It's awkward to translate German. I hate it. Ich versuche alles. I don't know how to say Weg in German. Zu erzählen. Wie zum Beispiel. Keto entscheidet hat, dass Amicus nicht genug gut für den Thron war und dass er Cassius auf dem Thron setzen wollte. Aber natürlich weiß Neferu, dass ich irgendwas nicht sagt. Listen, Paris, okay? It's been... Listen, I can read German well, but directly translating... normally I would need to look up specific words, and you have to change the word order a lot, because it's German, okay? This next one will be the last one. Then we're cutting back to English, because Kraut mode is only for a minute. Dann warum will er dich töten? Es ist ja komisch, dass er so schnell das machen würde. Good, back to English. I hesitate, and it's at this moment that the door slides open, causing me to jump and cower as the drone enters. Steady, Marco. No, right. Hard R's for him. Steady, Marco. It's just the medical supplies I requested. Have a seat on the bed. There are two beds. The jackal gestures at the smaller one. Dumbly, I point this out to him. Why do you have two beds? As I sit, Neferu sets the supplies all laid out on a metal tray to the side, uncorking a bottle and dipping a brush into it. He starts to apply a dark orange liquid to the cuts on my arms and legs. Well, for one, the Emperor, and interestingly enough, this one for the Emperor's pet. Lift your arm. I do as he says, still feeling numb as he starts to cut a rather deep cut on the underside of my arm. Can we go find Amicus? Where is Amicus gone? That information is confidential and only accessible by the Emperor, Neferu. I see the jackal's eyes narrow as my stomach twists.
What does that mean? Could mean any number of things. I clutch my hands together, feeling my anxiety grow. But is he alright? What if Kato did something to him? Neferu rests upon my shoulder. I understand your worry for Amicus' safety, but also understand that Kato would not even think of taking Amicus' life. Your wolf is likely imprisoned somewhere after what he did. Doesn't make me at all feel much better, but I manage to hold still as the jackal continues to treat me. This is what I get for being alive. My nose doesn't work. Hard R. Look. Leave me alone, Paris. Leave me alone, Paris, okay? I don't speak German day to day anymore. I've lost a lot of my German skill. Leave me alone. After a period of silence, though, Neferu sighs. So, at this point, it seems we're in a rather precarious situation. I promised Amicus that if something happened to him, I would do everything in my power to keep you safe. Neferu pauses and only continues when I look up to meet his eyes. It would seem that what he worried about has come to pass, and now I must carry out that promise. But to do that, I need you to be honest with me, so that I may know exactly what we are dealing with. I gaze at Neferu for a while, considering how much is at stake right now. The events of the past hour left me emotionally drained, numb aside from the twisting anxiety of wondering what's happening to Amicus right now. I feel myself deflate. Amicus made first contact with me. Kato found out. I wait for a moment, wondering if the jackal is going to toss me out into the hall after learning such a terrible secret. When Neferu doesn't say anything, I look up. I guess I expected to see a look of shock or even horror on the jackal's face, but it mostly just looks annoyed. You know, I had suspected such a thing, considering all of the odd quirks you possess. But I'd also thought that even Amicus would not be so foolish enough to do it. I feel myself growing a little defensive. He didn't know. We'd been contacted by the wolves before, but we lost the history of it somehow. Even so, he should have taken more care. That's in the past now, however. We must focus on the present. Aren't you worried about getting in trouble? Me? Why would I be worried? Isn't unauthorized first contact, like, really, really bad? Well, yes, but I'm not the one that committed that crime. The burden rests on Amicus and on the wolves. I'm merely here to help a sapient that I did not know was an uncontacted alien. Neferu starts to wrap the bandages around the deepest cut on my arm. How did I become a citizen? I authorized it at the embassy shortly after the deal I made with Amicus. You were never officially his pet, thus never a member of the Empire. We thought it best to simply grant you citizenship in the meantime. You can just do that? Well, yes, I'm the son of the Pharaoh. Yes! Don't I have to sign something or something? It has been taken care of. How? Again, son of the Pharaoh. God damn it. I see you over there, Paris, being mischievous furry. I see you. I sit in silence for a while, trying to comprehend all of this, while still worrying about Amicus. Can we find out where Amicus is? We will shortly. How? Even if it was supposedly a secret, word spreads fast in these halls. Why are you helping me? This is all so crazy. I've told you before, Marco. It is the duty of a Chemian to help a sapient in distress. I will be like that. I will be like that. I'm gonna be exactly like that. I stare at the jackal. Uh-huh, and why else? Neferu smiles gently at me. Despite our past interactions, I consider Amicus a friend. No, not hard R. Despite our past interactions, I consider Amicus a friend. You are very important to him, and I see it as my duty to keep you safe. And would it be strange that I consider you a friend as well? Neferu? Why can't we fuck Neferu? Why can't we fuck Neferu? I just want to know why we can't fuck Neferu. That's the worst part about this visual novel, that we can't fuck Neferu. Friend. Does this have to do with the Alliance? Neferu continues to smile. I suppose there are a few other reasons. Those reasons are pretty easy to figure out. Keeping me protected will keep Amicus happy, and Amicus knowing that Neferu did this will make the Alliance more likely, assuming we get out of this mess. Obviously Neferu won't say, but knowing this is more likely, the main reason actually makes me feel a bit better. I don't have to worry that the jackal has some other nefarious plan in store for me. Virginia requests access to your quarters, Neferu. Ah, and here might be the answer to your earlier question granted, Com. The door slides open, revealing Virginia. West Virginia! Mountain Mama! Sorry. She doesn't look happy. Immediately, she stalks into the room, eyes on me, glaring. I wonder what exactly it is she's waiting for, then the door slides shut. What in the name of the Romanus have you done, alien? Neferu chuckles. Easy, Virginia. He's been through quite a lot in the past hour. Easy? Cassius and Cato are in the hospital? Amicus is in the dungeons? Cassius is to become emperor? Our plans are in ruins, Neferu. The wolf folds her arms and walks around slowly so she can better look at me. What happened? My first instinct is to stay quiet, cross my eyes in that dull, vacant stare and pretend not to understand. Then I realize I don't have to anymore. I've come to this realization after the second trial, but now that everything has fallen apart, now that I actually have some protection, I find myself bristling at the she-wolf's accusing stare. Cato's a complete monster. He staged the third trial so that Amicus would lose. I used the Nervo on Cassius and should have done the same to Cato. Then Amicus ripped his visor off. Virginia gives me a look of surprise, probably not expecting me to be so honest, or maybe she's just shocked at how brutal things got. She then looks to Neferu, who nods in response. But why? That's when I hesitate again. But again, I feel like it doesn't matter much anymore. Amicus made first contact with my species. What? The wolf looks horrified, bringing a paw to her muzzle. Now this is the kind of reaction I'd expect. Why would he do such a thing? I don't know. His research on my planet told him otherwise, I think. Virginia just stares at me, then looks away toward the door. Honestly, knowing your brother, it's not at all that surprising. I know my brother is an idiot. I didn't know he's psychotic. Now I really bristle. The idiot thing might be kind of true, but talking about Amicus like this after everything that's happened, while he's sitting in the dungeons, wherever those are, makes me angry. Hey, he had no reason to believe we weren't part of the Galaxius, the library, or the archives, or whatever told him that we were. No, sorry, I read that last line wrong. The library, or archives, or whatever told him that we were. He just panicked and rushed things when he found out the truth. Neferu and Virginia stare at me, looking unconvinced. I sigh. So where are the dungeons? Is he okay? Can I see him? Virginia paces around to the side, staring into the fountain. He was stunned by a drone, but was conscious as he was escorted. The dungeons are under the palace, possibly just under our feet. I look down automatically at the marble floor, picturing the wolf sitting down there. Can I see him? Obviously not. Cato has allowed access only for himself.
That authority will pass on to Cassius when he becomes emperor.
I continue to stare at the floor. I feel better now that I know he's at least alive, but I want to see him. I need to see him.
So what do we do now?
I look up to see that Virginia's talking to Neferum.
I'm working on it. This will take some time to sort out. And it was all going so well.
The best laid plans of wolves and men. I'm complaining about not enough furry porn. Because there isn't. This is primarily not a porn game. That's the thing. The porn is an added bonus. But we know that's not the primary purpose of this. If it was, there would be a lot more. So yes, I am complaining. Amicus in Space Area 51. Space Stockholm Syndrome. I mean, a little bit, but the thing is, they did end up actually getting along. You know. It's a little bit of that, but also, you know, it was all a rather big unfortunate accident. As it often does before it falls apart. What are you talking about? Virginia glances at me in mild surprise like she forgot I was there.
It does not concern you, Marco. You look injured. Why don't you rest?
I stand up. Look, I think by now you should know that I'm not some idiot slave for you to order around anymore. It was an act. I understand everything you say, and I know all of you have your own little agendas. You'll see Virginia bristling, but I just don't care anymore. But honestly, I don't really give a fuck what either of you want. I just want to help Amicus. So if that's part of this plan you're talking about, then I want to know about it. The two aliens stare at me. Then Neferu starts laughing, but I cut him off. Stop acting like everything's so fucking amusing to you. This isn't funny. Amicus is in trouble, and even though he's put me in this mess, he's the only one I know for sure that gives a... This is why you hire editors. That gives a damn about what happens to me. Thankfully, the jackal does stop laughing, regarding me with those blue eyes. You're right, Marco. I apologize. I was just not expecting such a powerful retort. I like it. Why can't we fuck Neferu? Sorry. He then turns to Virginia. He's a part of this as much as we are. I believe he should know what we are up to. Virginia sniffs. Oh, now that there's a sniff, I don't have to sniff. Thanks, Nose. Amicus could have executed his abductee without anyone seeing the evidence. Yeah, he could have, but he didn't want to. Part of the thing about Amicus is that he's not a bloodthirsty racist like the other wolves. He actually kind of cares and wants to make things better. He wants to do the right thing. He has a good heart. He's one of those people who... He isn't really cut out for the emperorship. But at least he wants to do the right thing, you know? He's the kind of person who might have been happier if he had been born not in a royal family, you know? There's a lot of people in royal families throughout history who are like that, you know? The whole thing of, you have all these responsibilities, but you're not necessarily qualified for any of them, you just happen to be born in a position and you have it forced upon you, basically. Part of the reason why monarchies are awful, because they end up dehumanizing the very monarchs themselves. Oh, I got a sniff. I got a sniff for Virginia. Here we go. Virginia sniffs.
Granting him Chemian citizenship seems to have bolstered his boldness. I wonder if that was a mistake. It was necessary.
Neferu then turns to me. That's what I get for sniffing. Fuck. Jesus Christ. then turns to me.
Marco. No. Marco, these plans were meant to be set in motion once Amicus became Emperor. We both have interests in Amicus becoming Emperor. Right here. We did not interfere during the trials, but we did plan to begin our work, which was all but confirmed he would become Emperor. What interests? Well, it may come as no surprise that I wish to have the alliance. Virginia, on the other hand... Neferu glances at her. The wolf barely seems interested and shrugs her shoulders. To be his chief advisor. In the end, we both agreed that Amicus would be best to fulfill both our interests as opposed to Cassius. We simply agreed to help each other accomplish these plans of ours. Interests. I guess that's the appropriate word to describe what most relationships hinge on in this stupid empire. Do you even care that your brother is in the dungeons? I ask Virginia directly, surprising myself. Or do you just care about what interests you? Virginia scoffs at me and Neferu gives me what I can only imagine is a warning look. I care deeply about many things. What I don't care for is being lectured by an alien who does not understand the meaning of Wolven legacy. I don't say anything and Neferu coughs. Anyway, we have plans to work together. Oh, no. Fucking... These are so awkwardly worded, I hate this. Anyway, we have plans to work together to see if there might not be a way to redeem Amicus and place him on the throne. Already? Wait, did you already have plans to unseat Cassius if he won? Yes. I shake my head, realizing just how much of a facade this entire empire really is. Well, then I want to help. And what would you be able to do? While I never had a problem with Virginia while I was pretending to be a pet, I find talking with her directly to be rather unpleasant. But I guess it makes sense that she'd be bitter towards me. I'm technically the reason her brother is in the dungeons, and her chance of being advisor is now 0 under Cassius. Virginia may be right, Marco. You're on unstable ground with Cato and Cassius, the two most powerful wolves on the moon. You should probably stay hidden in my quarters for the foreseeable future. I frown. All day, every day? Yes. I don't like the sound of that at all. Well, you could be useful if the third trial was truly staged. Obviously your word won't hold much weight, but if we can find footage to go along with it, we might be able to put a dent in Cato and Cassius's image. I look at Virginia, but she's already stalking off toward the door. Unfortunately, I have to attend a meeting in Cato's stead, for obvious reasons. We'll have to discuss all of this in depth later. As she reaches out for the black panel, I suddenly have an idea. Virginia? She doesn't say anything, but her ears perk. Could you talk to Cassius when he's Emperor about letting me see Amicus? I just want to make sure he's okay. There's a short pause as the door opens before I see her nod her head. I'll see what can be done. With that, she steps out and the door closes behind her. I'm left alone with the jackal, my new, well, not master. I guess more of a partner. He smirks at me. Try not to antagonize her too much in the future. She started it. I recognize that, and it was wise of you to put your foot down, not only with her, but with me as well. But she's very, very smart. It's essential we have her on our side. He's not wrong. I realized just before she left, she's basically my only connection to Cato and Cassius, both of whom I doubt would want to talk to me. Now, the jackal moves to the door himself, calling over his shoulder. Unfortunately, I must also take my leave. I'm going to gather a bit of information from the city. Did I read that right? No, I didn't. I'm going to gather a bit of information from the city. I'll be back towards the end of the day. Again, try to stay inside this room. It's locked to everyone but the Emperor.
With that, the jackal leaves the room as well, leaving me alone in the room. I lay back, wondering how things went so wrong so fast. I don't like any of this, and just like my first day on this moon, I feel out of place and completely out of my element. 6 viewers. Where'd you guys come from? Glad you guys are enjoying this furry space opera with horny characteristics. That's the socialism I want. Socialism with horny characteristics. Check a few things while we're going. Furry porn. Don't mind me, I'm just checking a few things. I know I already said that, but I just want to be sure. I'm trying to be a good host. I am your hostess with the mostest. Also, did I even take my pills? I don't know. I'm going to take just one to be safe, in case I already took 2. Okay. Stream has been going on for only an hour. Christ. Well, so the stream today is probably only going to last until like 10, so it's only going to be like 4 hours or so. Because your boy is tired and has stuff to do and has to try to fix his fucking stupid sleep schedule. Okay, continue. I don't like any of this, and just like my first day on this moon, I feel out of place and completely out of my element. I just wish Amicus were here. I roll over, hugging the pillow as I try to fall asleep. The idea of me staying in Pharaoh's room constantly for the foreseeable future doesn't last long. In fact, a few hours later, I find myself leaving his quarters and wandering the halls of the palace like I have so many times before. Cato and Cassius probably won't be back for a little while, so I don't really have to be worried about... I don't really have anything to be... So Why can't I read today? I don't know how to read. Cato and Cassius probably won't be back for a little while, so I don't really have anything to be worried about, as far as I know. Just as I'm thinking this, I see something out of the corner of my eye. The gray tail, green stripes. Alexios. Seeing the cat suddenly reminds me of all those suspicions I've been keeping bottled up about him, if only to keep the peace in the palace. Again, with all that thrown out the window, I find myself fast walking in Alex's direction, determined to confront him. While I feel like complete shit after what's happened, I also feel completely liberated. Cat's out of the bag. I can basically say whatever I want now. Well, most definitely should still be... well, mostly, definitely should still be careful. I turn the corner as I'm thinking this, and find myself standing just a dozen feet away from the cat. Alex bent over as he waters one of the plants. He's humming again, and he's smiling when he looks up at me. That smile immediately vanishes. He drops his watering can, sending it and its contents spilling across the floor with a clanging noise. He basically lost all chance of looking not suspicious in the first second he saw me. I mean, Marco, how are you this fine morning? Terrible. What are you doing? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Are you feeling ill? What happened to your arm? Alex's eyes go to the bandage on my bicep, but I ignore him, taking a step forward. In response, he takes one back. What have you been up to? Up to? His eyes dart left and right, as if looking for an escape. Telling Neferu about me. Telling the triumvirates about what I told you. I don't know if he actually did that last one, but his reaction seems to tell me. His eyes widen as he backs away. I have no idea. Did you talk to Kato yesterday after you saw me in the gardens last night? You realize what's happening right now, right?
Marco, you're scaring me.
You should be scared, you little shit. God damn. I fucking hate this filthy motherfucker. The cat continues to back away. I follow, and that's when Alex just gives up on his act, turns tail, and sprints down the hall. Before I know it, I'm running after him, eyes focused on his thrashing tail as his sandals slap against the marbled floor.
Stop chasing me. I don't know what you want.
I don't bother responding, starting to reach out to grab the back of his robes. Just as I make contact, though, he comes to a sudden halt, pressing himself against the wall so that I stumble and slide past him. He's at a door and he presses his paw to the black panel so that it slides before he dashes inside. I don't think he was really thinking about where he was going to end up because I know that that's the bathing room, and I know he's trapped. I turn around and run inside after him, just in time to see him, still sprinting, slip dramatically on the wet floor, flying through the air for a moment before landing painfully on the corner of the bath. I hear him wheeze before he plunges into the hot water. If he lost his breath, it's back as he comes back up with a gasp, letting all that out in a scream of pain. Hot! That cat scrambles out of the water clumsily, scrabbling at the sides with his claws before finally rolling out, looking small and disheveled with his fur all matted up against his skin. He curls up, and to my surprise, I see that he's crying. Yeah, cry, you fucking piece of shit. This sight alone is enough to give me some doubts that Alex is the conniving saboteur I think him to be. He looks so pathetic right now. I stand over him for a bit, looking down at his pitiful form before clearing my throat. Again, the background noises are just too fucking loud. The sound balance in this game, awful. Are you okay?
Okay. I think you broke my ribs.
Me? You're the one that ran away for no reason.
No reason. You advanced upon me in a threatening manner.
He's crying. The cat curls up again and makes some more sobbing noises, and I'm between believing him and believing he's flat out faking. Sit on the bench. I reach down a hand to help him up, but he swats it away. I narrow my eyes. Answer my questions, Alex. The cat finally sits up, sniffling and rubbing at his nose while the other paw clutches at his side.
I have no answers. I am simply a pet.
Painfully, Alex gets to his feet before setting himself gingerly on the bench while stripping off his wet robe. Yeah, and I was simply a pet yesterday. I'm not as stupid as you think, Alexios. Alex looks up at me, that pathetic, sad look replaced by one that I can't really explain. When he remains quiet, I try again. I know everyone has interests here. They're yours. Maybe we have the same ones.
You're not being very subtle, are you?
What you did yesterday wasn't subtle at all. Who else would have told Kato that I was conscious again? That me and Amicus are lovers? Alex frowns, then shrugs.
How am I supposed to know? I told Cassius last night. He could have told a number of people, especially Kato.
Alarm! Alarm! He's fake crying. Okay, you say so. I mean, I don't care either way. That makes me pause. Of course Alex talks to Cassius on a regular basis, probably every night. It would make much more sense if the wolf was the one to tell Kato rather than Alexios. What about the lovers thing? You were the only one that suspected. Well, him and Neferu, but I know Neferu wouldn't tell. Alex scoffs, having taken off his robe in the process of examining his side. Looks fine to me, no blood or anything, but he winces as he prods at it.
You think it wasn't obvious? It was a prominent rumor ever since the first trial.
That, and I guess Kato did walk in on us in bed together. I feel my resolve failing a bit, but then I remember Neferu again. But Neferu told me that you confessed my intelligence to him. Why would you do that? This time the cat's reaction is rather different, his ears blushing as he looks away.
He was curious about you, and he could be very persuasive. I'm sorry I told him, but again, I thought it was obvious, and I didn't think he'd tell you.
Alex scowls, massaging his ribs. I glare at the cat, wondering if I'd just made a huge mistake. But what about the triumvirates? I told you first, and then they all suddenly found out somehow. Alex quirks his head.
Well, Cassius was discussing it with someone else, wasn't he?
Virginia.
Maybe it was that person.
If Pharaoh had said they hadn't interfered at all in the trials, and Virginia didn't show any indication that she might have sabotaged her own brother, then again, I have the feeling that she's probably a lot better at acting than anyone else here. I know I can't really trust anyone now, except Amicus and maybe Neferin. I've been so confident just moments ago, and now I find myself feeling guilty as I watch the sopping wet cat watch himself punched over. I don't trust him to be telling me the truth, not at all, but I also don't trust myself in being so confident that he's lying. So shamefully, I reach out a hand, resting it on his shoulder. He flinches, then glares up at me. Sorry. I just trying to figure out what's happening. Alex carefully moves my hand off his shoulder, but he doesn't seem all that angry.
That's fine. Just don't do it in such a brutish manner next time. You frightened me.
Yeah, sorry about your ribs too, even if you did that to yourself. Alex probably hears the smile creeping into my voice at the end of the sentence before he glares at me again.
That really hurt, you know. And now I have to go to the city to see a physician. I have to take that awful bumpy carriage too, since Cassius forbids me from flying.
Alexios shakes his head. I rub at my arm awkwardly. Why is that? Alexios looks up at me.
Ever since his father's ship crashed and the investigation was botched, he's petrified of it.
Alexios is a terrible spy. He's a terrible spy. Botched?
Yes, so they don't know how it crashed. Odd thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Just when I was having my doubts, I get another flare of suspicion as to why he's telling me something like this, but I brush it aside for now. So you know about everything that's happened?
Vaguely, so I'd rather not be involved. Anyway, I suppose it's not so inconvenient for me that I go. I was meaning to visit Cassius in the hospital today anyway.
The cat stands up, bending down with a grimace to pick up his robes.
And I'm sorry about what happened to your wolf. I hope you're able to figure it out.
And with that, the cat walks out of the bathing room, his tail dragging limply behind him. I just randomly clicked on the stream. Is that a naked cat in the bathhouse? Not naked. Not naked. But welcome to the stream. We're reading Adastra. It is a furry romance space opera visual novel that my followers, for some reason, wanted me to read. Fortunately, I've read it before. But, someone suggested it, I put it to a poll, and, my followers wanted me to read it, so I've been reading through. And now, one of the people who voted for me to do that is constantly mocking me in the comment section. Thanks, Airport. You're to blame for this. You know it. Well, partially. There's a whole heap of other people I have to blame for making me read this. A second time, anyway. It is an interesting story. As far as visual novels go, it's actually a pretty good one. Relatively engaging, with mostly interesting characters. What was the polls? The stupid answer wins. Your fault. No, that's not my fault, Airport. That's your fault. That's your fault. You and all the other people who voted for it. Can't make fun of me for doing what you want. You can't do it. Can't do it. I want to say more to him to figure out exactly what he's up to. I might have been wrong about him, but I also don't feel satisfied with his explanations. I can tell now that we're not exactly friends anymore, even before I caused him to shatter his ribs and boil in the hot tub. I sit on the bench for a while, thinking about soaking up in the bath. I realized that the last time I did that was with Amicus, and doing so now alone would be way too depressing. I get up and leave, hoping that Virginia took my request seriously. Imagining the wolf below me alone is too much to think about. So I head back out into the hall, deciding to just go back to Neferu's room and stay there like I'd been told to. For educational purposes. Yeah. No. Stop blaming your viewers? No, I will never stop blaming my viewers. Also, it wasn't my idea. It wasn't my idea. Someone suggested it, and the only mistake I made was saying, okay, a viewer suggested a thing. I know what that thing is. I'll put it to the vote. That's my mistake. That's my only mistake. Airport. There's literally only 3 sex scenes in the whole thing. There's 3. We've already gone through 2. Okay? This is like 99% just space politics. A few days pass like this. There's a bizarre calm in the air. The palace is quiet, despite the absolute chaos the top echelon of the Empire is in right now. In the meantime, Cassius becomes emperor with surprisingly little fanfare. I watched it on the screen. The young white wolf's right leg and left arm in casts, which is explained several times to have happened in the 3rd trial, as he's coronated by Cato, who is now missing his visor. That isn't explained to the viewers at all. I don't feel much as this happens, realizing how fake all of this is, how it doesn't seem to mean anything despite how much I'm told it means. It's all theatrics. What matters most now is taking the 2 of them down and getting Amicus up and out from that dungeon. Even now, I'm not really thinking about getting home despite the fact that the stretch drive should be returning any moment now, if it hasn't already. There are bigger things at stake here, the main one being my best friend's life. That's why on the 3rd day after the fake trial, I find myself eagerly involving myself in a discussion with Neferu as he tells me his plans. Cato is due back in the palace that day, and we both suspect he'll be making a trip to our room. So the most important thing to the wolves is drama, a scene, something memorable. That's all they seem to care about around here. Neferu sniffs dismissively as he sips at his wine, and I find myself starting to see why Amicus might find him so irritating. Not that he's wrong, though. I usually find myself agreeing with him. So, make a scene that makes Cato and Cassius look bad? Well, most importantly, we need to find, or even make up information about them that will irreparably damage their reputation in the public sphere. Like what Cassius did to Amicus during the 2nd trial. Neferu smirks. Even worse than that, Marco. Preferably something that shows disloyalty, or insults the pride of the wolves in general. That is something they often can't look past. Didn't Amicus having sex with you show disloyalty, or hurt their pride? Neferu waves his paw dismissively in the air. That was one of the sex scenes. We've passed 2 sex scenes so far in like about 7... No, not like... We've been reading for about 10 hours. 10 hours worth of content. There's just been 2 naughty scenes. One of them was, as was just described. No, it's been established among the public that he was simply furthering his goal of an alliance with my species, which was completely in line with his character. As for pride, well, he wasn't the one raising his tail. God, this fucking jackal. I sigh. So we need something about Cassius and Cato that's out of their character. Yes, something that shows them to be not who they say they are. The public must distrust them. Neferu strokes his chin. Would be convenient to have all that footage that Virginia was talking about, but considering how secure it might be, that could be impossible. Worth trying to get, though. Yes, I'll have to discuss that further with Virginia. So, what should I be doing? While it feels good to talk to someone about what can be done to help Amicus, I personally want to do something. Neferu pauses, then smiles at me. Marco, my duty is to not put you in danger, as I've said. I won't have you... Well, I don't care. I need to help. I'll do whatever I have to do. Neferu raises an eyebrow at me. Oh yes? Even if it might risk your own life? Cato is only barely tolerating the protective line that being a Chemian citizen affords you. I would not push him further. Then I'll do things behind the scenes. I don't care, I just want to do something. Neferu sighs deeply. We'll see. Just keep in mind that the most important thing to Amicus is that you stay alive. That's what you can do that will help him the most. I take that in, still not fully convinced that there's nothing I can do. But I'll certainly let you know if I believe there's a way for you to help. As for me, my status leaves me untouchable unless Cato wants to risk another war, which I guarantee you he does not. I'd imagine he has first-hand experience. Indeed. Oh. Speak of the devil! Speak of the devil! Guess who showed up? Lords are, yes, I am enjoying it because it is, again, as I said before, it is decently entertaining. It is a decently entertaining story. Cole Reigns, I usually stream a variety of video games ranging from Sea of Thieves to the Halo series to the Total War series to Doom to XCOM, Warframe, and just about everything in between. I also sometimes stream art. I'm trying to get back into that. I used to do it more. Whose call did I miss? I'm gonna have to... Someone called me. I'm gonna have to check who that is later. Anyway. Picking up where we left off. Again, the drama is really spicy here. Relatively, anyway. Neferu, Cato wishes to enter your quarters. I jump, wondering if the walls are thin enough for the old wolf to have heard us. Neferu doesn't seem surprised, though. As we expected. Come, please tell him to hold for a moment. I'm in the nude. Yes, Neferu. Neferu looks at me. I suppose our mission starts now. I have my own drone recording in the corner here, hopefully to catch the old man saying something incriminating. What I'd like you to do is crouch behind those bushes. Keep hidden and quiet. What? I thought I was supposed to be involved. You will be, but I'd rather he not filter himself because of you. I hesitate for a second, then quickly do as I'm told, even though I do feel bitter at the feeling of being tossed aside once again. Neferu, I will override the security again if you do not. Cato's voice crackles over the speakers, but that's when the jackal opens the door and for a moment his voice comes from two places at once. I'm pretty well hidden behind a few trees and bushes. My surroundings dark enough that I'm pretty sure Cato won't be able to see me through the leaves and twigs I'm peeking through. The two males stand awkwardly across from each other before Cato suddenly strides in, forcing the jackal to step aside, though Neferu keeps that smug smile on his face. What a pleasure it is for you to visit me today. As Cato walks in, I get a look at his face for the first time. I see that he lacked his visor in the broadcast, but seeing it up close, the stern look I'd always imagined under his now broken machinery is definitely there. His eyes have a milky gray quality to them, heavily scarred. The old wolf stops just in front of the fountain, his ears perked up. I wonder if he can see anything at all, and Neferu asks just that. How is your sight, your former highness? I see one of those ears twitch before the wolf slowly turns around. Non-existent, young prince. Oh, please, just call me Where is the alien? Neferu pauses.
Alex? Or do you mean... You know damn well who I'm referring to, Jackal. The Pharaoh raises his paws defensively, even though Cato can't see. Apologies, Cato. Marco told me he would be in the gardens doing landscaping work. Cato snorts. I didn't hear him out there. It is a rather large garden. A very beautiful one as well. Cato doesn't respond, instead staring about the room. Would you like some wine? The Pharaoh gestures at the bedside table, picking up his own goblet to take a sip. Loudly. Sippy sip, coffee fans. Oh god. It reminds me, I have to do City Skylines again at some point. That's a very obscure reference. I make the most obscure references. I see Cato's ears twitch again before he turns to the jackal. What is your plan with the alien? Nefero frowns. Plan? Do not ever play games with me. That will be my only warning to you, Jackal. Cato's voice is so cold and ominous, even Neferu's grin wavers. He recovers quickly, taking another loud slurp of wine. I wish I had some wine with me right now. All I have is a 6-pack of Corona and an empty coffee mug. It was me. I called you. So be it. Such good wine. One of the few superior products your people produce. Now, as for Marco is like hard R's. His accent is hard. I have a very specific accent for him because I want it to be fancy but not totally British. Like someone who speaks British English, but it's not their first language kind of thing. One of the few superior products your people produce. Now, as for Marco, I'm simply fulfilling a promise to Amicus. I see. That wasn't so hard to tell me then, was it? Speaking of, quite astonishing that he was so easily beaten by Cassius, of all people. Quite. I wonder how he was able to accomplish such a feat. It was broadcast. You would have been able to see it. Well, I don't watch Adastran broadcasts. Too much melodrama and propaganda for my tastes. Pugnu is a combination of skill and luck. It is not always the strongest that wins. Of course, though I have to wonder, might any of that luck have been, well, manufactured? Cato was silent for a moment. Cato being silent is when you know that something is very wrong. Are you implying something, Jackal? Oh no, I'm simply curious. I came to study the politics and workings of the Empire, while also trying to improve relations between our species. I feel knowing all the facets of Wolven politics is important. Cato sneers. There's a fine line between studying and spying here. Nefero chuckles. Well, what I do know is that you wolves often go about things in a theatrical fashion, and it's sometimes hard to tell what's real or not. I assumed the fight to be, well, somewhat staged. Cato chuckles, and immediately I know that Nefero was making a lot of mistakes here. I'm not sure what his plan is. Maybe he thought that Cato would be more friendly with him, or that he could lull the old wolf into a false sense of security somehow. Maybe he's just trying to feel the old man out? I also get the feeling that maybe he shouldn't have had all that wine before doing this. His suave, carefree attitude works on most, either to charm or to annoy, but Cato is not someone I feel it will work particularly well on. Either way, it's clear Cato knows exactly what's happening. I know Chemians pride themselves on their own intelligence, but I have to wonder why. considering your extreme stupidity.
Oh? Neferu casually sloshes his wine about in his goblet.
Your arrogance amazes me, young one. I know you are fortunate enough to have been birthed after the war, but it's as if you were never taught the history between our peoples.
I've spent countless hours studying this history, Cato, and that's mostly why I'm here.
Mostly. It seems the rest of that reason is to fuck with the delicate balance our empire is currently in.
Certainly not. I'm merely an observer. I want to tell Neferu to shut up, to just tell Cato to go look for me out in the gardens or something. I can see the hackles on Cato's shoulders rising, and I can only hope that the jackal was right about being untouchable.
I know I offered you to stay in this palace as long as you pleased, and I never withdraw an offer without good reason. But have you thought about moving out to the city? There are many more accommodations out there.
Oh, no thank you. I much prefer it here. Everyone is so interesting.
It is just like a game to take full advantage of a wolf's tolerance.
Neferu quirks an eyebrow. Tolerance? Not a word I would often associate with a wolf. I can tell that Neferu is losing his cool as well.
Our tolerance for your arrogance was unprecedented.
Neferu seems confused for a moment. Oh, are you referring to the war? I'm sorry. We're quite a bit blunt where I'm from. I did not realize what you were getting at. Neferu smirks. For a moment I thought you were coming on to me much like Amicus did. Definitely too much to drink, or this jackal is a lot crazier than I thought he was. You wolves tend to be aggressive like... Cato becomes a blur, closing the 5-foot distance between the two of them in less than a second. Action shot! The next thing I know, Cato is the jackal up against one of the pillars, slamming Neferu so hard against it, I see the plaster crack and fall away. Neferu gasps loudly, kicking out at Cato a few times as he struggles with the old wolf's thick arms. No. Okay, guys. I'm gonna teach you something real quick right here, okay? If someone is choking you like this, here's what you do, okay? Pull their arm, pull one hand over their arms with one hand, and then whip the other around and wrap around the side. By doing this, effectively hugging their arms, you break the angle, and you'll like force them out of your grip, and possibly be able to get away. At the very least, you won't be choked. Remember this, very important. Neferu does not know this one simple trick that will piss off all racist wolves. Y'all being gay in here? Meatball Man, you had said you wanted to read some of this, right? You said you wanted to read some of this along with me, right? Do you still want to? Do you still want to? We just hit an action scene. Perhaps. Well, if you make a final decision, please tell me, and I can set it up so you can do this. Just let me know. Neferu gasps loudly, kicking out at Cato a few times as he struggles with the old wolf's thick arms. Get off! Neferu kicks out again, this time at Cato's groin. If the old wolf felt anything, he doesn't show it, instead holding Neferu tightly in place while he snarls in his face.
Speaking of tolerance, I have tolerated your arrogance far too long. Just because you are the Pharaoh's son. The second son, and of a ruler with so little power over his kingdom in the first place. I shouldn't be surprised.
Cato pulls Neferu forward, then slams him back against the pillar again, causing more plaster to fall, and the jackal's teeth to clack loud together enough that I can hear it.
You're all the fucking same. every single one of you. But somehow, you're the worst I've yet to meet.
Again, Kato slams Neferu against the pillar, and I start to stand up, wishing I had a Nervo. Neferu growls, trying another kick.
Is this the next generation of Gimian we must deal with? I know you weren't alive for the war, but it seems another one is inevitable if you're an example of what's to come.
Are we in a VC? I'm not in VC right now, but I will set up a private VC with you and stream what's going on here, so you can read at the same time instead of there being a delay. If you want to do that, let me know and I'll set it up and we can do a read. We'll do it by private DM because I don't want people to interrupt. Neferu tries to speak but lets out a choked cough. Kato loosens his grip, and Neferu gasps a few times.
You know, Amicus was a bit less rough. But if you want to put your paws on me, you only had to...
This time, Kato almost lifts the jackal off his feet, cutting Neferu off with a horrific gag like he's throwing up.
I must say, you have a funny way of going about building an alliance. It's as if you thought their raising would get you whatever you wanted.
Now Neferu really starts to struggle, kicking around aimlessly, throwing his head left and right, sending drool flinging from his muzzle. Kato doesn't relent, and I know this is my cue to do something.
It's been a while since I've killed a jackal. My paws have been itching to do it again. Maybe you'll be on my next.
I don't know what to do exactly. I have no weapon, but I wonder if maybe I can at least distract the wolf long enough for Neferu to get away to breathe again. So I run out of my hiding spot, rustling the branches and leaves as I do. Kato was so focused on what he's doing to Neferu that he doesn't seem to even hear me. As I run at him, I can feel I can see the wolf grinning maniacally into Neferu's face, like this is really something he's been wanting to do for a very long time. He finally seems to hear me at the last second, turning his head in my direction before I lower my shoulder and to try and tackle him off of Neferu. Okay, 20-30 minutes, I'll do that. It's like hitting a brick wall covered in fur. I make contact with the old man's side, and for a moment I get a whiff of musk and perfume. God damn it!
Musk and perfume.
God damn it. Before I'm sent right back down on my ass. I wonder for a moment if I've dislocated my shoulder, looking up in a daze at what result my attack might have had, if any. To my relief, I see Neferu on his paws and knees, gagging and coughing, drool stringing from his muzzle. Kato is standing slightly to the side, looking in my direction over my head, but he clearly knows where I am. He only focuses on me for a moment, though, then he turns his head in the direction of the coughing jackal, Neferu crawling away at this point. Kato makes his way toward him before drawing back a foot. I can only reach out, not even having enough time to ask Kato to stop before the wolf kicks the jackal between the legs. He does it so hard I see Neferu's knees skip off the ground for a moment, before he pitches face first into the marble, on his knees and clutching at himself as he lets out a howl of agony. I cringe, immediately thinking of the time I kicked Amicus and how much harder Kato must have kicked Neferu. I start to move towards them again, in case Kato thinks of doing anything else, but the old wolf simply stands there, breathing heavily, head tilted down as he listens to Neferu moan.
For the kicks you gave me earlier, that should put your whoring out of commission for a few days, no?
Neferu is curled up on his knees at this point, paws tucked into himself. It's at this point I see a gush of red liquid overflow from his muzzle, and for one horrific moment, I wonder if somehow Kato had kicked him so hard that he'd ruptured his organs or something. But no, it's the wine, and it spills across the marble. Kato wrinkles his nose at the retching sounds before carefully stepping out around the jackal.
As I said, I won't withdraw my offer for you to stay, but there are many apartments open in the city. Just know that you will not be able to take your new citizen with you. Otherwise, I'd like to try this discussion again in the future, if you're willing to be more cooperative.
With that, the old wolf stalks out of the bedroom. At the same time, 2 white drones float in, hovering over Neferu. One lowers itself to the ground to begin cleaning up the mess, while the other holds out what looks like a couple capsules on a plate, which it balances on a metal appendage. Neferu, you seem to have vomited. Would you like anti-nausea medication? I stumble over to the jackal to kneel at his side and try to help in any way that I can. He simply keeps his eyes screwed shut, holding up a paw before returning it to his sore spot. What time is it? 8? Okay. I'm going to stop this at 10, so we have, about 2 hours left of the stream. Maybe. If I get too tired of this, I'll stop it a little bit earlier, but, we'll see what happens. So. Awkwardly, I rub at his shoulder, trying to ignore the smell as the drone does its work of cleaning up the puke. A few minutes later, I managed to help the jackal to the bed. His breath ragged the entire way. It's strange seeing him like this, usually so confident and in control. I never expected anyone to do anything like this to him, but I guess if someone was going to do it, it was Cato. Are you sure you're okay? I asked for what's probably the 3rd time as I sit next to him, and Neferu manages a smile despite the clear pain he's in. No, but I'll have to go to the physician to be sure. All the way in the city since Cato saw fit to imprison the palace doctor. Do you need, ice or something? I don't know, he hit you so fucking hard. I'll manage. I just miscalculated. I'll know how to handle him in the future. I frown, not really feeling like that's the case. As I'm trying to help him, though, Tom's voice comes over the intercom again. Virginia requests access to your room, Neferu. Neferu suddenly straightens up, moving his paws from his crotch to his thighs. Granted. She nods at the two of us before wrinkling her nose. Ugh, smells like rancid wine in here. Indeed. What did you need, Virginia? To my surprise, Virginia turns to me. Instead of the hostile expression she's been wearing the last time we'd encountered each other, it's much kinder, much to my relief. Marco, I had a discussion with Kestis about seeing Amicus. He seems accepting of the idea under one condition. There's a pause. What? Well, he wishes to speak with you in private. Private? Neferu immediately speaks up next to me. That is not wise, Marco. We should negotiate with him to allow me to be there. Virginia laughs. You really think Cassius would allow a Chemian in on a private conversation? Virginia pauses, eyeing the jackal, Neferu currently still hunched up despite his attempts to keep straight. What happened to you? Nothing of note. I raise an eyebrow, which Virginia sees. Marco, what happened? Well, I pause, watching as Neferu raises his own eyebrow, but makes no attempt to stop me. Well, Neferu pissed off Cato, and Cato hurt him. What? I was attempting to pry information from the old man about the staged trial. I was unsuccessful. Why did you even think you could be successful? Cato knows exactly what we're up to, no doubt. This is so unlike you, it jeopardizes everything, Neferu. Virginia seems completely bewildered, and now that I think about it, I have to agree. What was Neferu thinking? But then Virginia narrows her eyes as she sees the jackal grinning, now openly covering his crotch. What? Well, I may not have achieved exactly what I wanted, but I attained something just as valuable. Neferu glances at the corner of the room where his drone is. You recorded it all? Yes, and an attack on the Pharaoh's son will not look very nice on the Chemian news channels, will it? Neferu. A dark tone enters the wolf's voice. That risks war. The jackal rolls his eyes, adjusting himself rather lewdly. I would never actually send it. But Cato does not know that. It's simply convenient blackmail material if things don't go as planned. Virginia squeezes the bridge of her snout, closing her eyes. You don't know Cato very well, do you? And neither do I. Sometimes I believe he wants another war. Did he hit you? Virginia's eyes drift lower. Yes. Anyway, he's no longer the Emperor. It's Cassius I'd use it against. You know Cato is his advisor? But still not the Emperor. I would hope your brother has large enough stones, again the jackal adjusts himself, to do his job, and not listen to a war-mongering advisor. One would hope. Virginia continues to look unconvinced. I shift around impatiently next to Neferu. So did he want to see me now? Virginia turns to me, again looking as if she had forgotten I was there. That seems to be the case. Neferu sighs loudly. At least try to convince him to allow you to be present, Virginia. I don't want Marco to be left alone with him. There is little to worry about. Cass is not Cato, but I can try. Virginia looks to me. Ready, Marco? I quickly get up, following the wolf to the door. I look back at Neferu, the jackal looking uncharacteristically disheveled as he's still hunched up around his junk. He gives me a meaningful look, probably meant to tell me to be careful, so I give him a quick nod before following the wolf out the door. We walk in silence, the only sound being the birds and the swishing of our robes as we make our way through the halls. I'm not sure exactly where we're going, but after a while I realize it must be to the throne room. I stare at the back of the she-wolf's head, contemplating a few things. Virginia is the person I know the least about in this palace, which probably means she's doing the best job at playing this little game. I want to ask her a lot of things, but I'm worried about overstepping boundaries, something that seems rather easy to do with her. As we get close to that door, I can't help myself from asking at least one question. So, do you care that Amicus is in the dungeon? Like, you want to get him out, not just because you want to be his advisor, right? Immediately, I see the wolf's ears flick back, in hopefully mild annoyance and not extreme anger. Her voice is steady when she answers me, though. First of all, it's not any of your business what my motivations are, Marco. Virginia doesn't follow that up immediately, so we're left in an awkward silence as we walk the last 10 feet to the throne room door. She pauses there and finally looks at me, her eyes narrowed. But Amicus is my brother, and for that alone I love him. And though he's a complete dullard, he's one of the few to be genuinely kind to me in this palace. He is a good one. Virginia turns away, raising a paw to hover over the black panel. But you would already know that. With that, she presses the panel and the doors slide open. I immediately spot Cassius at the other end of the cavernous room, looking a bit small and insignificant on the extravagant throne. Probably not the best impression for the Emperor of Adastra to make. As I'm thinking of this, we begin to make our way toward him. A drone hovers in front of the white wolf, holding up a screen under his face. He's not looking at it now, though, instead narrowing his eyes at the two of us, as Virginia escorts me to the base of the steps. Here he is, brother. Cassius shifts around in his seat, and for a moment I think I catch sight of some sort of booster seat under his rear. Hey! Thank you, Virginia. You can leave us be now. I have to do a slightly different Cassius voice because my old Cassius voice was a little bit more like Cato. Virginia hesitates, clasping her paws together in front of herself. Brother, I would feel more comfortable if I were allowed to stay. I'd rather not leave you alone with an unprofiled alien. Cassius snorts, waving his paw dismissively. I've interacted with it many times before. I will be fine. If not, then the drones will take care of him. Cassius makes eye contact with me as he says that last part, clearly meaning for me to take it as a warning or a threat. Virginia hesitates again, and Cassius's eyes drift towards her in question. That's when the she-wolf bows deeply before turning away. As she passes me, She gives me her own look, not unlike Neferu's. Be careful. I continue to face Cassius as I listen to Virginia's soft footsteps recede behind me. Then I hear the door open and close. I keep my eyes low on Cassius's feet, so I can tell he's looking directly at me. The silence drags on. I wonder if the White Wolf is using Cato's technique of using silence to intimidate. Finally, though, he clears his throat loudly, almost making me jump. First, I want to say that you may speak freely here. I only want to know the truth. I look up at him then, and see that he's not looking at me anymore. Instead, it's to the side, as if he's lost in thought. I'm confused as to how all of this could have happened. So know that if you speak the truth, you will be free from any consequences. Consequences? He's making it sound as if I've committed some sort of crime or conspiracy. I mean, maybe I've been a part of some, but it's definitely not my fault. What do you want to know? Cassius's eyes flick to mine, and I see mild surprise there. He's still probably not used to an alien like me speaking directly to him in full sentences. He pauses again before resting his chin on a paw, clearly trying to look casual. Who exactly are you? I raise an eyebrow. Marco. You already know this. I know your name, but I want to know more beyond that. What is it that you are doing here? How did my brother find you? Immediately our conversation reaches a point where I find myself unsure of what to say. How much can I say to him? Obviously, I can't trust him at all. I know that. But I also know if he's in complete control. I also know that he's in complete... Stuttering. But I also know that he's in complete control over what happens to Amicus. And there may be a few things I have to give up to keep my wolf safe. So, I square my shoulders and look Cassius in the eye. I want to know that Amicus is okay first, and I want to see him. Immediately, Cassius's demeanor changes from sour suspicion to sour fury. Excuse me? You aren't the one to make demands here. I am the Emperor, and you will answer my questions. I get the vague sensation of my balls drawing up in my stomach as I realize how dangerous all of this is. My thoughts go to that physician, Felix being sent to the dungeons without a second thought. But I know I have protections. I have to trust them now if I'm going to make any sort of deal with Cassius. Yeah, but you're not my emperor. I answer to the pharaoh. I'm spitballing, but it seems to be working as it gives Cassius pause. After a moment, it seems like he's able to collect himself. So I've heard. But remind yourself that you are on Adastra. Therefore, you are to abide by our laws and customs, and lying to the Emperor is punishable by death. And again, that feeling in my stomach. But I have to remind myself, rules don't matter here. It's all about playing their game. I know that Cassius would never have me executed or imprisoned while Neferu is here. That would be far too risky for the Empire as a whole. I can't be intimidated by empty threats, even if they threaten my life. If I want to help Amicus, I have to push the limits, at least within reason. I also remind myself that I'm not completely untouchable, as Neferu's balls can attest to. I just want to see my former master. If you can guarantee me that, then I'll tell you what happened. Another long pause as Cassius just glares at me. Then he lets out a little huff. Fine. It's almost funny how he's still acting like a child despite now being the Emperor of Adastra. So I take a deep breath. I consider lying, of course. But what Amicus did was an honest mistake, at least in my opinion. Lying will probably only make things worse when the truth should be so understandable. So I start at the beginning. How Amicus came upon the records of my people in the archives, how he rushed to my planet to find a willing pet. How everything suddenly went south when he found out far too late that we are not part of the Galaxius. And finally, how we tried to keep it all a secret to keep the Empire safe. I emphasized the keeping the Empire safe part, even if it wasn't originally at the top of my priorities. I'm telling the truth, even if I'm stretching it a bit. Cassius listens to all of this with various reactions: contempt, surprise, anger, and then contemplation. I'm struck by the contrast between him and Cato. While Cato keeps his emotions in check, aside from the occasional explosions of rage, Cassius wears it all on his sleeve. Not that different from Amicus in that way, even if his personality is. When Cassius still doesn't say anything, I sigh. It was an honest mistake. You've got to understand that. I already know it was a mistake. Even Amicus would not make first contact on purpose. I just wondered what sort of stupidity caused it. He had no reason to think we were uncontacted. We were recorded in the library or whatever. Cassius suddenly shifts on his throne. What are you? Species and planet name. His last sentence has the inflection of an expectant demand. Now I'm left to stand in silence. No fucking way am I telling this wolf where I'm from. Cassius must see this on my face immediately, because his fur once again puffs out in anger. Do you want to see Amicus or not? I need to know this to verify that what you are saying is truthful. Is that really why? I know what... Oh, sorry, no. Wrong. They have the same color. But... wrong person. Shit. I'm good at this. I know how to read. Is that really why? I know what you wolves do to other aliens. Why would I give away my people like that? Cassius puffs himself up even bigger. I wonder if he's going to start screaming at me, then he suddenly just deflates. The problem here is a first contact, yes? So why would I go out to find and do whatever you think it is I do to your people? I have no interest in furthering the problem. I simply want to know. Why do you care? Cassius snaps his eyes back up to mine. Believe it or not, Marco, I'm trying to help Amicus. Do you not know the consequences of such a crime? He could be executed for this. Now my heart does a backflip. What? Why? Because it is a sacred rule created by the parents. Disobeying them risks our entire empire to abandonment. But you're the emperor. You want him kept alive, can't you just do that? I feel myself starting to panic a little. I'd thought that maybe Amicus would be kept in the dungeon for a while, but never that he would be at risk of being executed. If it were only I that knew of this, maybe. But there are others that know of his crime, and they expect me to terminate all evidence of the first contact. Cassius stares at me, and I realize part of that evidence is, of course, me. Are you talking about Cato? He's just your advisor, right? You can ignore him. This time Cassius doesn't respond, looking away again. If I can make the case that this was a truly honest mistake, then maybe I have a chance of convincing these others. Better yet, convince them that this wasn't first contact at all. Are you even sure your people are completely unaware of the Galaxias? I start to say that I'm pretty sure, but he's looking at me in a strange way. Our governments are pretty secretive. They might know something. So it's possible that the crime wasn't committed at all, simply a misunderstanding, and knowing where you came from can help us determine that. I'm a bit caught off guard by all of this. I guess I just expected Cassius to let Amicus rot in the dungeons while he enjoyed his emperorship. But I'm reminded of what Virginia had said earlier, that although they might stab each other in the back, they're still siblings. Didn't you once say that you don't care about the parents? Wouldn't it be part of your plan for them to abandon the Empire? Cassius sighs deeply. I've said many things, but I found that once you become Emperor, your perspective on things change. Like, how much you need the parents? Cassius glares at me, so I just go on. How would they find out anyway? Amicus said something about monitors. Obviously, we can just talk about it in the open without anything happening. I look around as if expecting a monitor to poke its head out from behind one of the pillars. I don't know, but what I do know is the fewer who know, the better. What even is a monitor? Cassius shrugs. Again, I don't know. None have appeared in living memory. But that does not mean we should not be cautious. The risk is far too great. I don't really understand this. I feel like if the parents are as powerful and all-knowing as these aliens make them out to be, then they probably already know I'm here. Before I can bring this up to Cassius, though. So what are you? And where
are you from?
I think. He's right, but it wouldn't make sense for the wolves to go after Earth. It is technically the last thing that the Empire would want, especially with Cassius as Emperor considering his isolationist views. But most importantly, it could help Amicus. Take a deep breath. And if I tell you, you'll let me see Amicus.
Yes. Yes.
I don't like only being able to go on his word, but for some reason, I feel like he's being sincere. I'm a human from planet Earth.
Human. Earth.
Cassius mumbles the words, the lingua cutting off and allowing me to hear the wolf's accented voice unfiltered. He pulls the floating drone at his side towards himself, tapping at the screen a few times, probably making notes. It feels incredibly wrong at the moment, like I've betrayed all humans somehow, but again, I can't see why it would put Earth in danger. On top of that, I'm also counting on Amicus becoming Emperor eventually, and I know he'd never do anything to my planet. I'm playing the game. Cassius stares at the screen a while, and I shift around on my feet. So, can I go see him now? He snaps his gaze up to mine.
Yes, now is best. Kato should not be back for a few more hours, but I can only give you 20 minutes, just to be safe.
Kato? What about him?
You mean, what about him?
I want to ask Cassius why it sounds like Kato's in charge, and not he himself, but I know not to press those buttons right now. Sorry guys, my nose is on fire. As is tradition. Never mind. So can I see him regularly? Cassius sighs loudly, standing up.
It's not often, and you come to me first. And if Kato's away.
Yep, definitely not fully in charge. Kato's clearly got some control over Cassius. Either way, I'm too happy at the thought of being able to see Amicus semi-regularly to care at the moment.
Anyway, come, escort Marco to the dungeons to visit Amicus for 20 minutes.
That's when I remember that I have other questions. Wait, do you have contact with the parents now? Cassius looks at me strangely.
Yes, we made contact after I became Emperor. It was expected.
Oh, that's good.
Indeed, but we had to implement the traditional technique. It's a bit archaic, but highly effective.
Oh, so do you have the stretch drive again? Cassius looks at me suspiciously. Hey, I need to get home eventually. And you'd be getting rid of the problem if you got me there.
Well, no, not yet. But I've only spoken with them a few times. I'll be meditating on that today. I'll keep you updated when we discuss things in the future.
You want to talk to me again?
Yes.
Cassius then stalks off while the drone circles around me, telling me to follow it. I think about apologizing them for the whole Nervo incident, but I realize if he's not going to mention it, then I probably shouldn't either. I realize then how strange the whole exchange has been. Cassius has seemed like a whole different person, but I guess now he thinks of me more as an equal, at least in terms of intelligence. It makes him almost tolerable. I'm led to a part of the palace that I've never been before. We go through a small door into a small room that has a small pit in it. There are other adjectives. This is why you hire an editor. Editors can do wonders for you. Cheers, lads. Not gonna bubble over? Good. Behave. A ladder leads down into this pit, a pit I can only imagine leads to the dungeons. The hole is dark, and as I pause I can feel the drone hovering behind me. Please proceed down the ladder, Marco. I get a prickling sensation on the back of my neck. I wonder for a moment if this is some sort of trap. I mean, of course it feels like a trap. I have a creepy AI nudging me toward a bit of darkness, all set up by Cassius. Despite the feeling, I force myself downward, shakily lowering myself to the ladder, several times feeling as if I'm going to slip and fall. I have no idea how deep this thing goes, but as I start to think it might be a significant drop, my foot hits solid ground. To my surprise, I get exactly what I have been expecting. It's what looks like, well, a straight-up dungeon. Dim yellow lighting is cast across the stone walls and floor. The air musty and stale, the halls quiet. The air is cold, and fleetingly I'm glad that Amicus has that at least. As I'm thinking this, I hear movement up ahead. Shuffling footsteps and shadows being cast on the walls of the hallways in front of me. Take a few steps forward, but calm buzzes behind me. Remain close to the ladder, please. I stop and wait impatiently, wondering if what's up ahead is indeed Amicus. Again, I get that creeping feeling that I've been betrayed somehow, that what's up ahead is some sort of monster Cassius decided to feed me to. Instead, though, what turns the corner is Amicus. There's the boy! It's the boy! The boy's back. God, you can hear the way the audio cuts there. There's better ways to do that. For a moment, my wolf stands there at the other end of the hall, staring at me. Then before I know it, he's running at me. I start to move forward, but Calm tells me to stay put once again, more firmly this time. So I force myself to wait, watching as my wolf sprints at me. As he gets closer, I open my arms, and the next thing I know, I'm caught up in a mass of fur, warmth, and tears. Marco! I'm spun around in a circle, my face pressed hard against the wolf's neck before I'm set down again. Amicus doesn't let me go, though, clutching me tightly to his body. He sounded happy at first, but now I feel him gasp and shake. Amicus? I pull back as much as he'll let me so I can see his face. I see, and that he's crying, not even trying to hide it as he looks down at me with reddened eyes. He looks okay for the most part. His fur is a bit disheveled, and maybe he's a little thinner, but otherwise he looks healthy. The most noticeable change is his smell, a hint of musk, without any scent of lavender. Again, the musk! What is it with fucking furries and musk? I don't understand. Also, let me check a few things here. Where's... he's not on Discord yet. Sad. Sorry guys, I'm just checking my Discord messages. At some point I might edit all of these together in cleaner takes, but not right now. I open carry at Arby's. It's a good meme. Sorry, some friends sent me memes. I had to check the memes. Back to the furry porn. I'm sorry, no, it's not furry porn. It's not furry porn. God damn it. It's a furry space opera political romance drama with some sex scenes. Amicus is looking at me just as closely, and one of his paws comes up to brush a thumb pad across my cheek. It's then I realize that I'm crying too. So I press my face against his chest again, and we stay like that for a while. After about 10 minutes, our breathing is under control, and the wolf's grip on me loosens, though he doesn't let go. Finally, Amicus is the first to speak. Marco, I am so sorry. What are you still doing here? You're a Chemian. You need to go to Neferu and tell him that you want to be taken home. Or at least leukemia. His voice breaks. You need to get off of Adastra. It is not safe for you here. At the very least, have Virginia help smuggle you from the palace. You could... I reach up a hand and press it against his muzzle, both to stop him from telling me to do things I won't be doing and also because I feel like Calm is recording this, even if Cassius doesn't mean to monitor us. Amicus pauses in surprise as I clamp his muzzle shut. Just... Then I see his eyes well up again and he reaches up to cut my hand and press his face into it, closing his eyes. I'm fine. I'm here to help you. I choose my words carefully. I'm going to help you, and I'm not leaving until I do. Marco, I'm not leaving. Please. This time I bring my other hand up to his mouth. I'm safe. Neferu is keeping me safe. Nothing can be done to me. I'm a Chemian now. 10 minutes remaining, Marco. Already? Suddenly I'm pressed up against the wolf's chest again as Amicus hugs me tightly. I'm such a damn fool. I never think of others. I ruined your life. And for what? No. I press back again. I know that I can leave with Neferu's help, but I'm choosing not to. Amicus opens his mouth to say more, but I cut him before he can. I want to be here, and I'm going to. I'm about to say take down Cato, but I cut myself off. Help you. Even Cassius wants to. I'm going to get you out of here no matter what. More tears start to well up, so I just hug him and we stay like that for a while. I wish I thought of things to say. I'm sure there are things I could have brought up that might have helped me or Amicus. But my mind is blank and all I want to do is hold my wolf. Please, just don't involve yourself too much. Keep yourself safe. Being a Chemian doesn't guarantee all that if you meddle. I can hear Amicus trying to choose his own words carefully. Yeah, Cato's already shown me that. Amicus jerks back, looking at me. Did he do something to you? Not me. Neferu. What happened? Neferu was being kind of forward, and he got kicked in the nuts. What? Yeah. But he's Neferu's son. Yeah, so I know I need to be especially careful. The look of shock on Amicus's face slowly changes to one of slight amusement. Well, that's something I can't imagine. It was definitely something. I'm glad to see Amicus smiling, at least a little. 1 minute. I feel a flush of annoyance at the AI poor Amicus is hugging me tightly again. Going to be careful. I'm just gonna help everyone figure out how best to clear your name. I love you. So much. I love you too. Time limit has been reached. Please proceed to the ladder, Marco. Please proceed to your cell, Amicus. Amicus's embrace doesn't loosen it. Instead, he lowers his head to kiss me. I kiss back. Please untangle your limbs and oral cavities, and proceed to your respective directives. Amicus huffs in annoyance before drawing back. Yo, that face when you're trying to kiss your BF, and the killer robot tells you, hey, don't kiss your BF. That's what this is. And I'll be back. I just need to ask Cassius for the right times. Alright. There's so much more I want to say, so please. Return soon if you possibly can. Of course, as soon as I can. Amicus gives me a small smile, and though I see tears in his eyes, they don't overflow this time.
Meatball. 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 So, again, if we're being honest here, it's not furry porn, it's not furry not porn, it's furry story that has sex in it, is the best way to describe it. The journey back to Neferu's room is when it all hits me at once.
And I have to constantly wipe my eyes in case someone like Alex Neferu or even Kato comes around the corner and sees me. I already desperately miss Amicus, and now that I've just left him, I'm reminded of how alone I feel, now that he's not always by my side. Next time I visit, I'll bring a bunch of stuff to say, do, and eat. I can't imagine the dungeon food is any good. Maybe we can find more privacy next time, and we'll be able to plan things out and maybe pass information on to him somehow. The thought of this makes me feel a little better, and my eyes are mostly dry as I near the jackal's room. It's at this moment I get a strange whiff of something in the air. Oh, is this the scene I think it is? Like mothballs? That's all that comes to mind. It's something I've never smelled in the palace before. So I find myself pausing in the hallway looking around. Nothing seems out of place. It's quiet and bright, as it usually is, but that's when I realize where I am. There's a door to my left, and I immediately know that's the meditation room. I remember then that Cassius mentioned that he wanted to meditate, to talk to the parents. Is he in there doing that right now? Is this smell part of it? You know what's going on. You know what's going on, right? Ba-da-da-da-da. It's the one and only Digo Double G. Smoke weed every day. I remember how there's some parts of this that really truly were ridiculous the first time I read them. I read this. This was one of those parts. I'm reminded of the night I first met Amicus that I'd smelled something like burning rubber in the air. This isn't that, but I have to wonder if maybe the parents emit this odd smell when they arrive. I stand there for a while listening. I don't hear anything, but that smell continues, and I now know that it's definitely coming from that room. My eyes are squarely locked on the black panel. I want to open it, but I know I can't. If Cassius really is in the middle of talking to the parents, I could ruin everything. So I start to turn away, deciding that I'll ask Neferu what might be going on in there. But as I do, the door opens, and a cloud of billowing, white smoke comes out. Hotboxing the room to talk to God, fuck yeah. I gasp and jump back, seeing a figure standing in the doorway. Oh, he had a bad trip. Motherfucker had a bad trip. It's Cassius, and he's hacking and coughing, gasping for breath. I can see that he's shaking too. I'm about to back away when he locks eyes on me. His eyes are wide, bloodshot, and I can see what looks like vomit on his chest. His muzzle hangs open, as if trying to talk to me. He's hyperventilating, though, and that's finally when I step forward. Cassius, are you okay? I have to walk into the cloud to get to him, and I'm enveloped in that chemical smell, immediately coughing out the acrid smoke. Help me! Cassius reaches out to me, and I catch his paw. Immediately, he slumps against me, and I stumble under his significant weight. Nowhere near to that of Amicus, but he is a wolf after all. What happened? I try to peer into the room, but it's so smoky. I see what looks like a little fire in the middle, though, a pot burning something inside. Yeah, hotboxing the room. It's like I forget what the technical term for this is, but there's different cultures throughout the world that have done shit like this in order to like commune with the spirits, so to speak. Did Cassius hotbox himself? Yeah, the game knows. The game knows. Parents, demons. I don't know what to do. At first, I start to try and pull Cassius along toward Neferu's room, but I immediately switch course, deciding I definitely won't make it. Amicus's room is closer. I just hope I can still get in there. I can't. I can't. Cassius whines and then suddenly lets out a retch. I try to ignore it, just kind of hoping that someone else will come around the corner to help me, even if it's Kato. As I'm thinking this, I realize that the hall seems to stretch further and further ahead of me. You inhaled the smoke, you in for it now, boy. The light takes on an odd quality, strangely sharp and bright. And just like that, I instantly fall into what feels like a dream. God damn it, what were you smoking? Bad. Cassius squeaks. I'm angry, not just because this dumb wolf got me high on who knows what. but because I'm realizing that this is what Cassius was referring to when he said the traditional technique of contacting the parents had worked. All he was doing was getting high on some DMT shit. Is this how it's always been? Are the wolves, are all the aliens just getting their crazy parent ideas from some drug? The hall continues to extend ahead of me, and suddenly I feel like I'm looping in time, like time doesn't matter at all anymore. I can see why Cassius is panicking. I'm starting to myself. After what seems like an eternity, I manage to find Amicus's door. Suddenly, shakily, I reach out and press the panel, the door sliding open. I practically throw Cassius onto the bed. He seems to have stopped blubbering at this point. I collapse onto the sofa, my anger at the wolves and so-called parents dissipating from my mind as the high increases. Am I Jewish? That's a weird-ass question. Rispuhirta? Why do you want to know? Dare I ask? Why does it matter if I'm Jewish? Why do you want to know? Actually, wait. Never mind. I just realized my name. My Twitch name is Jewish. I'm an idiot. My Twitch name is Jewish, obviously. Yeah, I am. I don't speak Hebrew. I know a couple words in Yiddish. I'm a very bad Jew, but I am a Jew. Yes. I'm a fucking moron. I'm also a fucking moron. Collapse onto the sofa. I already read that. As my high increases, I raise my hands in front of my face and immediately regret it as they start to stretch and bend. Quickly, I jerk them back into my chest, hugging myself, trying to keep my breathing under control. It feels like I'm sinking into a crater, like the ceiling is raising up above me, that time won't start moving again. I gasp and clutch at the cushions, shutting my eyes, trying to calm myself down. You seem to be worried about something. Want a stress tablet to help? Why do they spell it like that? That voice sounds kind of like calm, kind of not. Oh, okay, there we go. Consider Israel as a colonizer state with side with the U.S. Sorta. It's complicated, but I mean, it at least partially is sort of. Not directly, mind you. America was not a fan of Israel when it was created. It only sided with Israel when it found Israel could be useful. But, and you know that took like 20. It took like 20 years after Israel's creation for that to happen. But I mean, Israel sort of whatever happened before, whatever's going on now, it basically is a colonizer state, sort of. You know, at least in the way that it treats the other people who are from there and live there. Uh, yeah, that's usually how it goes. Yeah, although it's the opposite in Israel. In Israel, older Jews tend to be a little bit more sympathetic with Palestinians, and younger Jews are a lot more dogmatic. And I don't know why. I think it's because back in the day, early Israel was very, very left wing. It was basically a socialist country, and a lot of Jews had this idea that they could just get along with the Palestinians and the Palestinians would let them do whatever they wanted, which of course isn't the case, obviously. I'm not just going to let people who come to your country do whatever they want. And especially they didn't realize that, hey, you come in and kick a lot of people off their land, they're not going to be happy with you. But so a lot of older Jews in Israel still have this weird belief that, we can find a way to get along, but a lot of younger Jews in Israel don't have that sentiment anymore. But outside of Israel, yes. Outside of Israel, most younger Jews are are a lot more sympathetic to the plight of Palestinians and very critical of Israel, while older Jews outside of Israel in the diaspora, older Jews outside of Israel tend to be, a lot more, we must protect Israel at all costs. It's a weird conversation to be having in the middle of this, but I do think it is an important one, so. They help you chill. God damn, even Calm's high. What? My confusion over Calm's voice melts away as mercifully darkness takes me. I'm relieved to find myself back up in space. I float, content, calm, happy, even though I sense someone watching me just behind me. behind me. There is no behind me, because I don't have a body anymore. Instead, the feeling creeps just outside of my awareness. Whenever I try to focus on it, it slips away. So instead, I just let it go, floating in space, feeling almost nothing. And feeling nothing right now, after everything, feels good. But after a moment, I start to get vague, far-off feelings. Not my own feelings, but the feelings of others, and I pick them up like distant whispers. We've interfered far too much already. Nothing goes to plan with the wolves. It must be done. I'm only half listening, coasting on the waves of soothing, empty space. If this is how the drug makes you feel, I'm pretty into it. Hey. The more we interfere, the harder it will be to predict anything. There is no other choice. The voice feelings cease at this point, and I continue to ripple on the waves of the universe. That's when I notice something appearing in the center of my infinite space. Hey, it's the other boy! I've seen this thing before, I think. Yes, we have. This is like the third or fourth time we've seen this motherfucker. Dreams that had fled my mind the moment I'd woken up suddenly come flooding back. I focus on this being, this creature that's been following me since I was abducted. He looms there, staring at me, even though I'm everywhere at once. The silence goes on for a while, or maybe not. I still don't have any sense of time. That is until the creature speaks. God, I wish Meatball was here. Meatball, where the fuck are you? You gotta come in here and read the giant space dragon. You gotta be the space dragon. Does anyone want to come in and read... Anyone want to read Space Dragon's lines? Where the fuck is he? We have fun here on Big Boy Bro, don't we? Give me a second, I'm getting a few messages. Oh, oh, fuck. Sorry. Hello?
Hello.
Hello. Shit. Okay, this is actually not a bad time.
I have been watching the whole time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am, I did not see your messages here because I did have streamer mode enabled. Give me a quick moment here.
That's fine.
Okay, so a quick question. If I do this... Okay, you see Discord, right?
Yes. It's currently spinning.
Oh no.
Wait a sec. This could be bad.
Oh no.
Shit.
I'm trying to think of the best way to do this, because we could, like... there's like a 5 to 10 second delay on Twitch is the only problem.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd say you could just do it on there, but,
Yeah, and it's not showing. The thing is, I could watch it from my phone, but then I couldn't speak correctly.
Okay, hang on a sec. Let's see what the delay is. Okay, so you're looking at the stream, right?
Yes.
Okay, you're looking at the stream. So, so you're gonna read the voice of this dragon creature who is known as a monitor. You're basically like a messenger of the gods, so to speak. So you can pick a voice for him and read as soon as you see the lines, and we'll see if we can make this work.
Okay, give me a sec.
It is as soon as you can see the lines. There's probably going to be a little delay. Pick a voice and go ham.
Marco.
There we go. The voice is deep and masculine, rumbling through my being. I wait a moment, then try to acknowledge him, made difficult by the fact that I don't have a mouth to speak with.
If you wish to communicate, then do so. I can hear you.
What? I try to think the words at him, but it's slow and clumsy in my mind, and I just wish that I could talk. There's a rumble of amusement through the air.
If you desire a body, simply will it to be. The loss of self is disturbing feeling for you creatures I know.
Wait a second, I'm gonna quickly give you a boosty. I can still mostly hear you, I just wanna make sure it comes through on the recording. I'll probably end up splicing stuff together so it seems a little bit more seamless.
Okay.
Okay. Punch through here, okay. What he's saying doesn't make all that much sense, but I try anyway. And just like that, I feel my being start to pull together. I start to materialize right in front of the creature, and I see my hands in front of myself again. When I look down, I see my body, naked. As soon as I see that, I feel a shock of embarrassment, and my robe suddenly appears on my body. I still don't feel right, like I'm still not in this body that I see. Still, it does feel better, and I'm able to open my mouth. What is this? My mouth feels strange and rubbery, and at the same time it feels like cotton is coating the inside. That's what happens when you smoke weed. Yeah, but basically we got high, now we're talking to God. It's great.
This is...
For the first time, the creature seems unsure of what he should say.
Well, it's a bit complicated to explain, but it's simply a space where you and I might be able to communicate peacefully.
That's not really an answer.
No. But if I were to explain it in depth, it would waste the small amount of time we have together, and confuse you even further.
I try to stay focused, wanting to know as much about this guy as I can before the drug wears off. You're a parent? That rumbling laughter tickles at the edge of my existence again.
No, definitely not. I am a monitor.
Monitor. I see fear trickles down my imagined spine as I realize what this all might mean. The monitor quickly holds up a paw. Oh great, you now have a text color. Excellent.
No, don't worry. You're not in trouble.
I'm expecting you to then say, "You've just been naughty." I watch him cautiously as if he's only lulling me into a false sense of security before annihilating me on the spot. Again, that feeling of amusement.
Now that would be impossible to do here.
I try to keep my thoughts focused. What about Amicus? Is he in trouble?
No. He only did what we planned for him to do.
Planned? There's a pause, as if the monitor is gathering his thoughts.
No. I'm simply receiving instructions.
From...
The parents.
I stare at him. They're talking to you?
Yes. About you and what I cannot tell you.
Why don't they just talk to me then?
Because they cannot. Direct communication is impossible.
Then how...
I was specifically designed to be a bridge between your, let's say, dimension and theirs.
I don't really know what to think about that, but I get the feeling that I shouldn't be distracted by these things right now.
That would be wise.
So, what do you mean, planned? The parents set Amicus up somehow?
Your abduction and introduction to the Wolven Empire was meant to happen.
Why? Another slight pause.
The wolves could single-handedly undo the Galaxias, but you can change that.
I frown, feeling some anxiety slip through the drug-induced calm. What? How?
The wolves are a stubborn sibling, possibly a mistake made at the very beginning. But the parents can still see the correct path and destination.
See? Can they see the future or something?
In a way, yes. Their minds exist many times at once.
I'm starting to become lost, and suddenly, I begin to feel like a primitive life form, incapable of understanding this ancient alien monolith before me. Hey, that's a fucking 2001 reference right there, I think. But I'm not. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it is.
Do not feel that way. You yourself may not understand, but your species as a whole is more than capable.
My mind automatically thinks back to how we were abandoned by the wolves, by maybe even the jackals too.
You were abandoned by all the siblings.
just read our minds. I guess that was obvious before. Wait, hang on. Right. For a single moment, multiple images of several different creatures crossed my mind. A bear, a wolf, a jackal, a lion, a ram. Okay, let's do the math here. So a bear is probably the Russians. Because the implication here is that different cultures were influenced by different animals. So I'm thinking bear was either the Russians or the Native Americans. A wolf, well, is just most of Europe, possibly including Russia. A jackal we know is Egypt. A lion, you see, a lion could be Britain, but that all because that's like the emblematic animal. But maybe a lion is also somewhere else in Africa. A ram is very difficult, but a ram I want to say are the Jews because of the significance of the ram's horn and ram's blood in ancient Jewish like mythology and ritual. But I don't know for sure. They're all recognizable, and what they wear is recognizable too, reminding me of several different cultures on Earth. The images finally stop on a tiger in a flowing dress with intricate designs and patterns, and what looks like a sari draped over her. Of course, because it's fucking Mira, and the tigers are literally just fucking called Hindus in this game. We learned that earlier. Sometimes this game is very creative, and sometimes it's not creative at all. You just call the tigers Hindus, okay. As the image fades from my mind, somehow I know immediately that it's Mira.
Yes. We reigned in the wolves once, before with the help of the Hindus. But it lasted for a far shorter period of time than we'd foreseen. That's why we've turned to you to play an ancient role.
But we're not part of the Galaxius. Everyone failed at uplifting us. So, isn't something wrong with us? Another pause.
In a way, yes. But after the attempts, all of the parents realized that humans would factor into the Galaxies later. Now.
All? Aren't the parents competing with each other? This time I only get silence in response. I wonder if he's just been told that he can't tell me that. So what am I supposed to do? What do you want with me? The answer this time is immediate.
Restore Amicus to his rightful place on the throne.
I wait, but there isn't any other explanation. And how do I do that? Silence. Why me? More silence. I blow out air in frustration, or try to since nothing comes out. Why can't you all just tell me what to do? You brought me here, didn't you? Just tell me. Nothing. I'm about to just give up. Wait out the trip when the monitor begins speaking again.
Interference often leads to destabilization of the events that should follow. The Galaxius must develop and learn in its own way.
Except for now, right? This is interfering, isn't it?
Except for in various instances where the children and siblings stray too far off course.
This time, I'm the one left unsure of what to say. I'd always seen the parents as all-knowing beings with only good intentions for their children, but now... How do I know they can even be trusted? What I do know is that the monitor is apparently able to hear all my thoughts, so he definitely heard that. Still, he doesn't say anything, just regarding me silently. So, I guess you can't tell me what the purpose of all this is then, the Galaxius as a whole.
That knowledge has not been earned by the Sapiens yet.
My mistrust grows. Well, can you give me something, anything, that might help me with getting Amicus out of the dungeon? If I'm straying off the course, then tell me how to get back on it. The monitor pauses for a moment, as if getting more information from the parents.
Watch the cat.
Oh, god damn it. It's Alexios. That fucking Greek-ass motherfucker. The cat. Alexios? I wait, but again I get silence. I shake my head. If the parents really are all-knowing and all-powerful, then why can't they just tell me?
We are neither of those things. Hence why we must be so careful.
I just stand there, unsure of what else to do. I look around. Is, Cassius alright?
The false emperor? Yes. He's somewhere around here.
The monitor looks about dismissively. Did he hear us? Oh god.
No. He's too busy panicking. A side effect of being a coward imposter.
Do 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 do. That's right, boys.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of Rusty
That's true.
using his GIF.
Yes. Don't worry. Look, Cassius is sus. To be fair, he's not as sus as Alexios, but we're gonna get him.
You could always call him Cassius.
Ah, god fucking damn it, I hate you. But I also
You should have seen that coming.
Yeah, I also enabled it, so it's my fault. I frown, feeling that's a bit harsh, even on someone like Cassius. Can you help him? Maybe bring him here? Wait, no, sorry. Oh no, I fucking totally misread. I'm an idiot. I get a feeling from the monitor that I can only describe as an annoyed sigh. There we go. Now there's your... Okay.
I suppose.
A few moments pass before I start to see something appear next to me. Ah, there's the shithead himself. The unmistakable shape of Cassius materializes, frightened and shaking. He immediately sees me. Marco, where are we? What's happened? Are you... Then he sees the monitor. Ah! He jumps behind me, shielding himself from the creature. The demon! Help me! I get that feeling of amusement from the dragon creature again, and I frown. Have you been scaring him? I get the feeling of a shrug from the creature.
If he's scared, that's his choice.
And the parents are okay with you doing that.
Possibly not. But the wife rule means little to them.
God, this is a this most monitor is a cheeky motherfucker. What? That seems to get Cassius's attention, and he pokes his head around my side to glare at the monitor. Oh wait, no, that's not. No, so they fucked up. They fucked up. This is why you hire a fucking editor. Again, how many times? We're gonna have to do like a supercut of all the times I say this is why you hire a fucking editor. Because this is not, Cato's not here speaking. This is Cassius. Excuse me, but I am the Emperor.
No, you are not.
I frowned, the scene growing more and more surreal before me. Excuse me? Cassius seems unable to think of anything else to say. Just as I'm about to step in between the two of them, I feel myself unable to hold my consciousness together any longer, and I begin to drift off. Okay. Thank you, Meatball Man, aka Werewolf, aka Wolverine, for being so kind as to voice the cheeky dragon, this cheeky space dragon.
Glad to have been able to help. I do have to speak with my brother now, so I will be heading off probably.
I mean, it's about computer stuff, which is very important. So I hope that things work out and you indeed come back and come by. You know. So,
yeah. Will you be doing anything after this then?
So I'm actually gonna wrap this up, hopefully by or before 10, and then I don't know if I'll be doing it. I don't know what I'll be doing, but I'll definitely be around to chat.
Okay. All right. Anyway, glad to have been able to stop by. I might be back later. Either way.
Take care.
Glad to have been here.
I will see you later. Bye. Okay. Now that that's done, back to the action. That's gonna look really nice. Once at some point I want to edit this and like cut it all up so it flows together smoothly. Slowly, I come to on the sofa. I almost read that as I come onto the sofa. Oh boy. My eyes cracking open as I wince at the throbbing headache I have. There's a cold sensation around my mouth and I reach up to feel that I've been drooling all over myself. I roll over, feeling a wave of dizziness as I do. I pause there, waiting for the wooziness to pass. When it finally does, I'm able to focus better on my surroundings. I stare a full 10 seconds before I remember where I am and what I'm doing there. I look over at the bed and see Cassius lying spread eagle. Spread eagle, cross the block! Spread eagle, cross... Sorry. That didn't. Spread eagle on the covers, his eyes fluttering. I watch him for a while, realizing that he's still unconscious. He did take in a lot more of the drug than I had, so I guess that makes sense. Very slowly, I slide my legs off of the sofa and sit there as a second dizzy spell overtakes me. I wait a solid minute for this one to pass, so that when I stand up, I don't end up just falling over. When I'm able to do that, I stumble to the bathroom, feeling more and more clear-headed by the second. When I get to the sink, I rest there, staring at myself in the mirror. My eyes are red and my hair is messed up in every direction. I wet one of the towels and wash my face, and by the time I've finished, I feel mostly better. As I rest there against the sink, I think back to what just happened. And not just the drug trip I'd been sent on, but what I'd been told. All the dreams I'd had since being on this moon, I remember everything. I don't know if it's real or not, if I'd really just spoken to the parents, if it had seemed too intricate to not be real. My mind wouldn't be able to make up something like that, would it? Then again, I don't know what Cassius was smoking. As if on cue, I hear the wolf snort in the bedroom and I make my way out of the bathroom, finding Cassius on his side now, facing away from me. Cassius? Slowly, I walk around the bed and see that the wolf's eyes, just as red as mine, are open, staring off into space. I try again. Cassius, are you okay? The wolf mumbles something, not even looking at me. I walk up to the side of the bed, reaching out tentatively before gently touching him on the arm. That seems to jolt him from his daze and he jerks away, gasping in surprise and fear as he pulls back and looks up at me. I hold my hands up to show him that I mean no harm, and he stares at me for what feels like over a minute. Finally, he mumbles out my name. Marco. I nod slowly, not wanting to make any sudden movements. Yes, I'm Marco. You're in the right place. You're in the palace, in Amicus's old room.
I know where I am, idiot.
Seems like he's returning to his old self. Well, that's good. You had a pretty bad reaction to whatever that was. Cassius is pushing himself up to a sitting position, doing it slowly, just like I had. He lets his head hang for a while, probably going through the same dizzy spells I just experienced. I wait patiently, deciding to move back over to the sofa while I do. His ears perk up as I sit down, and he looks back up at me.
What are you doing?
I frown. What do you mean?
I mean, why are you still here? You may leave.
I guess I could. I just want to make sure you're okay first. Cassius lets out a soft, indignant snort.
You think I believe that? You're dismissed.
I gave him an incredulous look. Seriously? First of all, this is Amicus's room. Second, I'm a Chemian. I don't see you ordering Nefaru around like that. This time Cassius lets out a louder snort.
Ha! He's royalty. And an actual Chemian. You think I'd pay you the same?
Chemians see all their citizens as equals. I'm worth just as much as he is in their eyes. Instead of snapping back, Cassius just lowers his head, eyes closed before he lets out a deep, forlorn sigh.
I'm tired. If you wish to antagonize me, please leave it for another time.
I've been pushing the boundaries with Cassius on purpose to see what the limits are, and I'm getting more comfortable conversing with him without fear. Still, I'm a bit taken aback at Cassius's sudden tone of defeat. It's one that I haven't heard often. We're both silent for a minute or so, then I finally speak up. So what was that? The smoke stuff. It was a drug, right? Cassius is silent for a bit longer. I wonder if he's going to ask me to leave again, but instead he just sighs and finally looks up, his eyes looking a bit more clear now.
It's called Somni, a plant from the southern region of this continent. It helps us connect to the parents.
Yeah, you said it's the traditional way?
The old way, yes. Usually we communicate through parental tech, but as you know, they are currently not speaking to us with that method.
So this forces it to happen?
In a way.
Does it work? Cassius glares at me.
You would know. You were there.
I go silent, that statement coming as a surprise to me. I've seen Cassius, of course, but I'd thought it had only been part of the hallucination. You saw me.
Oh, please, Simeon, or whatever the hell you are. You're only trying to humiliate me further. I was right next to you.
So that had been real. I sit back on my hands, contemplating all of this. I've read about DMT experience back on Earth, how if you break through, you can meet extra-dimensional beings that tell you the secrets of the universe. I would have considered my experience to be all in my head, but if Cassius was actually there... I noticed then that Cassius is looking very closely at me, gauging my expression.
What? He spoke to you, didn't he? What did he say?
I try to think of what to say. If this is real, then I doubt telling Cassius everything will help me out in any way. He must see the hesitation on my face because his fur bristles.
The Emperor demands you tell him what I told you.
I glance up at Cassius, feeling less and less afraid of him with every threat he sends my way. He really is all bark and no bite. He just sort of asked me what I was doing there. That's it. Cassius glares at me before, finally seeming defeated, once again looking down. But he seemed okay with me being here. He was a monitor too. I don't think Amicus is in trouble. Cassius shakes his head.
I don't trust anything he said. He was a demon.
No, demons are giant and purple and round. And they're on my profile picture. And they're my boyfriends. That was not a demon. What did they say to you? You looked pretty scared.
I was not scared.
I let out an involuntary laugh before I can stop it.
Damn you. I was simply unprepared for the experience. It was much more intense than the previous one I had. That is all.
Cassius looks at the ground again, and I can see that the insides of his ears are burning red. I know that laughing at him was a shitty move on my part. I should be working to get him on my side to help Amicus. Make an effort to get my expression under control. Listen, I'm not against you, Cassius. Actually, I think we're working together here. I'm just trying to figure out how to best help your brother. Cassius continues to stare silently at the floor, though I see an ear twitch as if acknowledging what I just said. If we're going to work together, we need to be at least a little honest with each other. Maybe I could help you figure out some stuff. I realize how hypocritical that is, especially considering that I'm hiding what the parents had just told me. Cassius lets out a skeptical huff.
You help me?
Yes. Cassius seems to contemplate, then shakes his head.
Nothing there could help us. They simply torment me when I tried to communicate with them.
Torment?
They appear as demons and taunt me. It seems that the parents truly do want to cut off contact with us, which I'm fine with.
Cassius says that last bit with such meek defiance that I almost feel sorry for him. Maybe it was just the drug. I've heard plenty of stories of people freaking out on mind-altering stuff, especially if they have problems with anxiety.
I do not have a weak mind, Marco.
You sure about that one?
That doesn't mean you have a weak mind. Sometimes you just...
Enough. I will not have you speculating about my mental capabilities. No, mental capacities.
This time I'm the one sighing, wondering for the 100th time how the hell this wolf is Amicus's brother. But I didn't say anything to you. Cassius pauses, a frown tugging at the corners of his mouth. No. I raise an eyebrow at him.
What? Of course they said things to me, but nothing useful.
You sure?
Of course I'm sure. The parents have turned on us. That's all I need to know.
I think back to the conversation we've had in the hallucination. The monitor had told both of us that Cassius isn't the Emperor, and if Cassius has heard what I heard, that's probably what he's thinking about right now. But I know now isn't the time to challenge him, and I can tell that he's still trying to recover from the trip. Still, looking at him right now, staring at the ground, looking disheveled and defeated, I feel myself wanting to help him. Out of everyone on this moon, he seems to be the most stressed out, and I feel bad for him despite everything that's happened. But I know he doesn't want my pity right now. So I eventually leave Cassius alone on the bed, and wander back out into the halls, feeling as if weeks had passed since I had last been out here. I think back to what that dragon-like creature had told me, about how I'm here for a reason, that this has all been planned out. Planned out by parents who seem completely frustrated at the behavior of the wolves and their inability to follow through on their plans. For a brief moment, I wonder how much more smoothly things would have gone if I'd been abducted by someone like Neferu, taken somewhere like Hemia. Then we could have fucked Neferu. And I'm upset that we didn't. I'm upset we never got to fuck Neferu. But then I wouldn't have met Amicus. Besides, it seems like it's just the wolves that are giving the parents problems, not the other siblings. Which reminds me of the only bit of advice the parents had given me. Watch the cat. Spy on Alexios. That's something that I think I can do if I'm careful. Despite the new level of scrutiny I've fallen under, I've also been walking around the halls of the palace for the past few days without incidents. I've even come across Cato a few times, but for whatever reason, he's completely ignored me. All for the better. So I start to scour the palace for the cat. He's actually pretty hard to find when he's not looking for you. But I at least know that he's usually in the gardens, if not in the hallways, watering the plants. So after eating a quick lunch, I decide to start my search in the gardens. I look back and forth through the foliage as I walk quietly along the various pathways. It's quiet, pleasant, and peaceful, but after everything that's happened, it has an ominous edge to it, like something could jump out at me at any moment. I do this for about half an hour before I start to realize how fruitless this search might be. Alex would be hard to find even if he was out there, and besides, could even be all the way out in the city, doing his ambassador work, whatever that is. Just as I'm about to give up, though, I hear something. Sniffling, gasping, and crying? I pause, listening. It's a bit difficult to hear through the slight rustling of leaves in the wind, There's definitely someone out there that sounds upset. I can't really tell who it might be since it sounds like they're trying to keep quiet. That. And there's another sound too, another voice, and this one I recognize. Alex. It's a soft murmuring sound, like he's soothing someone, probably the person who's crying. I wait there a few moments, waiting to see if the sound fades or gets closer, which would tell me that they're moving, but it stays constant. So, convinced they're sitting down or at least standing in the same spot, I creep closer to where the sound is coming from. It's in the secluded part of the garden, coming from a small square that's surrounded by trees and bushes. I'm familiar with this square, the one with the statue of Drusus, where I had been laid out to die. I know that I can't use the little path that leads up to the statue. I'd be seen for sure, so I walk up to the bushes that surround it and start looking for a break in the various branches and leaves. The sobbing sound continue, and I can hear Alex's voice more clearly now. I still can't quite tell exactly what he's saying, but I catch the occasional "don't worry" and "all is well." I can't imagine what's happening in there. I start to wonder if this is exactly what the parents had hoped I would come across, and my heart starts to hammer in my chest. Am I about to find something that's going to help me out of the mess we're in? I finally find a thinner coverage in the foliage, and I'm able to see through. First I see Alex, his back to me, crouched on the ground in front of the statue. He's draped over something, someone hugging them, his face pressed to the side of their head. I can only see their ears and parts of their shoulder, but I know right away that it's Cassius. He's got his head bowed deeply toward the ground, his paws to hide his face, shaking with his sobs. Alex hugs him tightly, whispering into his ear, clearly trying to comfort him. Cassius only responds with an occasional shake of his head before finally blurting out, "But am I a fraud?" His voice squeaks uncharacteristically on the last word, and Alex responds with a gentle shh before nuzzling the wolf's muzzle. I watch for a few more moments before drawing back, feeling uncomfortable knowing that this is a private moment between the two of them. I know now this won't exactly help me in any way aside from making me feel even worse for Cassius. Still, I found Alex, so I move away toward the bench that's further up the path, one that gives me a good view of the entrance to the square. Oh, fuck. There goes my nose. Ugh. Fuck. One that gives me a good view of the entrance to the square and at a distance that won't make me seem suspicious. A good 10 minutes pass before there's any movement. First, Cassius comes out. In the process of straightening out his armor, his expression blank as he stalks off up the path away from me. I wait a while, a good while, maybe another 5 minutes, wondering if Alex somehow took a different exit from the square. But at that moment, I see him walk out looking completely neutral as he looks around. I freeze up, positive he's about to see me, even though that would be okay. But he instead walks straight ahead, towards the pond. I watch him go for a while, then follow. It feels strange trying to spy on the pet ambassador like this, especially when I have no idea what I'm doing. But this is the only hint I was given to free Amicus, and if this is the only way, then I'm going to do it. I find the cat at the pillars, already pulling at the weeds. I sigh and wait, watching for a while, realizing this could last hours since Alex always seems to enjoy weeding for some reason. The cat is so meticulous about gardening here, and I have to wonder why, considering his efforts really wouldn't be all that visible in a garden this big. I remind myself of why I'm here and settle down on another bench, one that's a good distance away so I won't seem too suspicious if he sees me. This time I sit there for a few hours, occasionally adjusting the way I'm seated, as my ass gets sore on the stone bench. And as the sun sets, I realize how boring spying actually is. Around the second hour, the sun is set completely, and I debate just giving up and trying another day. At that moment, a drone suddenly drifts up to me, making me jump and duck my head down a little, as if that will help me hide from Alex. Neferu requests. Shh! I hiss at the drone, and Calm's voice automatically dips into a whisper and goes on as if nothing happened. No location, and if you need his assistance. Of course, at that exact moment, I can see Alex strolling up the path, though he doesn't move toward the palace. Instead, he starts walking up the path in my direction, and I quickly stumble off the bench and into the bushes, praying he didn't see me as I hide myself amongst the leaves. The drone follows me, then pauses at the edge of the sidewalk. I'm reminded that these things probably can't move off the grid of the pathways. Just through the leaves, I can see the damn thing's lights on, stubbornly waiting for my answer. At the same time, I hear the soft scraping of Alex's sandals on the pathway as he moves closer. Damn it. have been better if I just stayed on the bench. Now this drone is going to reveal me to Alex while I'm hiding in the bushes like the most suspicious person in the palace. I can see the green tips of the cat's ears poke out above the bushes as he hums softly. I crouch lower in the foliage until I can't even see that. I will the cat to just ignore the drone, but the humming stops and so do his footsteps, and I know that he's spotted it. Do you have a stray drone out here, Tom? All drone machinery are accounted for, Alexios. What's this one doing? I feel my heart stop, swallowing hard. There's a pause as if Com is calculating something. That information is classified, Alex. By whom? Neferu. There's a pause, then a chuckle as Alex's footsteps pick up again, moving further away to my left. Oh, that jackal. I'm still holding my breath as I listen to the footsteps fade up the path before slowly rising up from my crouch, glaring at the drone. Tell Neferu that I'm busy, but I'll be back tonight. I have some things to tell him. Message received. Thank you, Marco. Yeah, no problem. I say it sarcastically as the drone floats off in its slow, lazy way. At this point, the sun has set completely, and I have to wonder why Alexios has headed in that particular direction, leading either towards the gates of the palace or the lake. I've followed the path slowly, keeping my eyes peeled for the cat. At first, I'm almost positive that he would be heading for the gate, maybe on his way to the city. This would be the end of my little mission, since I know I can't leave the boundaries of the palace without being hurt somehow, probably killed. But instead, I spot the cat's form, just barely visible in front of the lake, its surface glinting from the light of the moon. I stop and hide behind a tree, making sure that I'm not close to any of the lampposts. I watch as Alex moves around under the little gazebo with the watercrafts under it. Sure enough, a few minutes later, he comes gliding out on the sightseer. He floats over the shore, then out onto the lake in the direction of the island. I know right away that I'm seeing something important. There's nothing on the island for the cat to take care of as far as I know, and unless he's going out there for a nighttime outing on the beach, extremely doubtful, then he's definitely doing something suspicious. I wait for a while, watching as the dark form of the cat and the craft gets smaller and smaller until they basically disappear, out in the direction of the island. Of course, I know I can't just follow him out there right now, but I could definitely tell Neferu about it. Neferu is in his room when I arrive, tapping away at what looks like a transparent tablet. It's an odd thing to see considering the non-existence of portable technology in this palace. Maybe it's a Chemian thing. As soon as he sees me, though, the display slides back into the small metal bar that it had been projecting out of as he turns to face me. Hello, Marco. You were gone for quite a while. Yeah. Care to share how your visit went with Cassius and, hopefully, Amicus? It takes me a moment to remember exactly what he's talking about. After my little trip, everything that happened before it seems so distant. I try to tell Neferu as much as I remember involving Cassius, before the parent thing, and he seems impressed. I suppose bringing Cassius to our side won't be as difficult as I had previously thought. It seems he has similar misgivings about Cato. Yeah, and Amicus is doing okay. Just a bit depressed about everything that's happening, obviously. I pause, which Neferu notices. Is there something else that happened? I take a deep breath, thinking how best to describe what I went through. Well, when I was coming back, there was this weird smell coming from the meditation room. Neferu raises an eyebrow and I go on to explain how I ran into Cassius again, and everything that happened afterwards. When I finish, the jackal is quiet, just watching me with a narrowed gaze. This is usually the look he gives me when he's thinking hard about something, so I give him some time to respond. When he does, it's hesitant and reserved. Not something I usually hear from Neferu. So, it was drug-induced hallucination, yes? Well, I guess so. But I think it was real too, like Cassius was there and he remembers seeing me with him. What's wrong? Well, that is a very primitive way to contact the parents. To put it bluntly, it does not work. It was a method used in the early days, during first contact between sibling and parent. They visited multiple times, and in between visits, some siblings, especially the wolves, will try to contact them again via psychotropic drug use. These could occasionally bring visions of higher beings, though They were not the parents, of course. Simply imagined beings conjured up by a chemically imbalanced brain. This is likely what you experienced. To truly contact the parents, you must do it through parental tech, complicated machinery that is able to transcend dimensions. It is usually only usable by a single person, such as the Emperor for the wolves or the Pharaoh for my people. The Pharaoh stops talking at this point, allowing me to take all that information in. So maybe I had imagined it all, even if it had seemed so real. They told me they had a plan for me and everything. Oftentimes, such drugs stroke the ego of the user. They make you feel as if you are the center of the universe, as if you are important. Not saying that you aren't. Have you tried it before? I've had brushes with such substances in my youth. Good for experiencing the fragility of reality and how we perceived it, but little else. I see. Still, it sounds like you caught Cassius in a moment of vulnerability. You could trust you more because of it if you treat this situation delicately. Maybe. I think back to when I saw him crying in front of the statue, but I don't want to tell Nefero about that, not really feeling it would be all that useful or appropriate to share. This reminds me of what else the parents had said to me. Well, they also told me something else, to watch Alex. Did they now? Yeah, and I did. He's been acting weird ever since I got here, so I spied on him today and he just sailed off to the island in the middle of the lake just now. Neferu's got a strange, knowing smile on his face. What? I just find it interesting. You have similar suspicions of Alex that I did. What do you mean? I've been studying the cat myself and noticed a few odd things as well, including his trips to the island. I frown. What? And you didn't tell me? Well, this rather desperate situation where it only came about very recently. I had little use for this information until now. Well, what do you think he's doing? Nefero shrugs. I don't know, as I've not yet followed him to the island. You can imagine I'm planning to now that we could use Alex on our side as well. Turn everyone against Kato? Yes. So if he's doing something bad, then we would use it as blackmail. Essentially, he is the closest person to Cassius and could possibly grant us access to classified information. I sigh, growing weary of all this backstabbing. If it's the only way to help Amicus, I guess. Oh, there are many ways. I have a last resort plan in place. I wait, but Nefero doesn't go on. Which is, well, considering Amicus's birthright, he still has the ability to challenge whoever is on the throne, but... Really? All this time Amicus could have just challenged Cassius again? Then I realized that Nefero was about to go on. But what? A fight to the death, since the wolves love their violence. Though the Emperor would have to accept the challenge. The thought of that instantly makes me feel sick. No way. Again, last resort. I doubt Amicus would challenge his own brother, and I doubt Cassius would accept, at least at the moment. I can't even begin to contemplate a situation like that, and Nefero quickly changes the subject. Anyway, I should be off. I'd like to catch Alex in the act, and based on previous observations I've made, I have another hour to do so. I blink in surprise. Right now? Shouldn't we wait until, tomorrow night? He only goes once a week. Considering how urgent our situation is, I should get this done now. Can I go too? Marco, remember what I said about needing to keep you safe? Yeah, and it's Alex. What's he gonna do? We should be prepared for anything. Well, I think it's better if we both go, in case something does happen and you need my help. Nefero lets out a soft sigh. All right. I'm surprised by how quickly he gives in. I suppose you deserve to be treated as an equal in these plans we're making. Well, if Amicus finds out I'm bringing you on these missions, he'll have my hide. I'll let him know I wanted to be part of it. As if that will convince him. Anyway, let's be off. Okay. My excitement picks up as I get to my feet and follow Nefero out the door. If we run into anyone, especially Kato, we simply tell them We're out for an evening stroll, understood? Yep. Despite the potentially dangerous situation we're going into, my mood is lifting knowing that things are finally moving again. Luckily, there's another sightseer craft in the gazebo, though it looks much older and the floor on this one isn't transparent, which I'm fine with. I'd rather not gaze into the inky blackness of the water beneath my feet while sailing to the island. The Pharaoh is quiet most of the time, looking confident in everything he does as he prepares the craft. Finally, he reaches out his paw to chivalrously pull me aboard. The lake laps quietly around us as we approach the island, a black mass amongst the ripples of reflected moonlight in the waves. I immediately spot Alex's craft sitting on the beach near where we'd had our little picnic all those weeks ago. We travel a little further up the shore, out of sight of the craft before we drift onto the beach. The Pharaoh holds out a paw again to help me down, even though I don't need it. As I settle on the sand, though, he leans in close to whisper in my ear. Wait here. Unfortunately, I believe simian footfalls are louder than that of a jackal. Hey, but call me if anything happens or you need help. I see a smile on the Pharaoh's face, and though it's amused, it's not in a condescending way at all. Of course, my friend. And with that, the jackal disappears into the night, leaving me with only the little craft and the gentle sounds of the waves to keep me company. I don't have to wait long before I hear voices coming from further up the beach, and I know right away it's Nefero and Alex. I wait for a few moments to see if Nefero will call my name. When he doesn't, I frown and look around, before quietly making my way towards the voices. It's not like I expect he needs my help, but I don't want to miss anything important. And I feel like the moment of confrontation with Alex should involve me. As it should. As I get closer, I'm able to make out the words, and I see that the two of them are right on the edge of the woods, standing just a few feet apart. I crouch and hide along the tree line as I listen more closely to what they're saying. Beautiful night. I've always wanted to come to the island to gaze at the moon and planets, away from the lights of the palace. Oh, I see. It is incredibly beautiful here, isn't it? When he's speaking in his typical pleasant tone, I can definitely tell that Alex seems a bit nervous, his voice tight and seeming a bit out of breath. So. Yes? Alex looks around nervously. I heard you speaking just before I happened upon you. Is there someone else with you? Me? Oh, no, definitely not. You know, it's rather embarrassing, but sometimes I just talk to myself. Don't be embarrassed. It's something I do as well. Oh, I see. Alex seems to be relaxing a bit under Neferu's treatment, but tenses up again at the next sentence. Though I usually don't whisper to trees. Now that is a bit odd. I see Alex's ears flatten, though I'm a bit confused at the statement. Whispering to trees? Alex doesn't seem to have an answer ready and stutters in the most guilty way possible. Weirdly enough, though, he slides up closer to Neferu. Neferu, you're the one that's acting a bit odd right now, you know? The small cat's demeanor suddenly changes to a more sultry approach, relaxing his shoulders and drifting a paw down his body. It doesn't seem natural at all, though, unlike Neferu's smile as he stares down at the approaching cat. He's still smiling when Alex reaches up to cup his cheeks and kiss him right on the lips. I blink, surprised at the sudden turn the scenario has taken. Alex is the dirty little slut. So is Neferu. Neferu looks anything but surprised, though, grinning throughout the kiss as Alex tries to kiss deeper. Finally, the cat seems to notice the lack of response from the jackal as he draws back, frowning. Neferu shakes his head. Oh, Alex, you know that's my technique. It will not work on me. Now, why don't we have a look at that tree? Alex freezes up, looking around, and that's when I think he spots me. Oh, who is that? Neferu turns his head just slightly in my direction. That's when Alex makes his move. He sends a kick sailing between the jackal's legs, and I'm readying myself to intervene. Just as I'm readying myself to intervene, Neferu's paw is there, solidly stopping the attack. There's a pause, Neferu holding Alex's leg, forcing him to balance on one foot as the jackal's smile turns smug. What a pity. You're not the first to try such a move on me. I've learned people on this moon fight dirty. Alex squeaks. but balls up a fist anyway, sending a punch straight square into Neferu's stomach. It connects with a hollow thud, bouncing off the jackal's abs like they're made of brick. Neferu only grunting slightly in response. Oh, now that's a bit more like it. Suddenly, Neferu uses the leg to sweep Alex's only foot off the ground, sending the cat onto his back in the sand. Neferu follows him down, pinning the cat there, almost engulfing Alex with his much larger body. Get off me! Help! Alex spots me as I come out into the open, standing next to the two of them. Marco, help me! The jackal's gone mad! I fold my arms and stand over him, and Alex quickly realizes I'm definitely not there to help him. What are you two doing? I told you I know nothing, Marco. Why must you keep attacking me like this? Alex continues to struggle meekly under the jackal, not even looking like he's trying to escape. Attack you? Then why is it my stomach that is sore? Alex doesn't seem to be listening, and tears start brimming in his eyes as he begins to sob. Now I'm fully convinced that his sobs in the bathing room were all an act. Marco? I turn my attention back to Neferu, who's still smiling as always. About 10 paces directly in front of me there's a large tree, larger than the others that surround it. Do you see it? I look ahead and immediately see what Neferu is talking about. The tree noticeably larger than the others, its branches stretching dozens of feet into the air, the leaves looking like silver in the moonlight. Yes? Go up to it, circle it, see if you can find a hollow. I do as I'm told, feeling a little apprehensive as I step just inside the dark woods. Wait, Neferu! Marco, I don't understand. Why are you doing this? I realize at this moment how much I'm trusting Neferu here. I have no idea what's happening at all. The trunk of the tree is thick, enough that I wouldn't be able to touch hands if I were to hug it. I start looking for the hollow Neferu described, and as I walk around the tree, I immediately spot one on the other side of it. I look into the black hole, feeling a bit nervous at what I might find in there. I stop as the tiny red light in the hollow flashes to life with my voice before fading again. What the? It happens again, pulsing to the sound of my voice. You found it? Yeah, and there's a little red light in here that's lighting up with my voice. I watch the hypnotic ebb and flow of the light as I speak. Thank you, Marco. You may come back now. Gratefully, I return to the side of my Chemian friend, noticing Alex's demeanor is completely changed now. He's sullen, though almost expressionless as he lays under the jackal, not even pretending to be trying to escape at this point. Well, that settles it, doesn't it, Alex? Alex remains silent, staring up at the sky. What is it? Neferu looks up at me. Classic Omorphian parent tech. They often combine plant life and machinery to create their gadgets. Rather ingenious. And they've recently been sharing their knowledge with us on Chemia. What a mistake that was. Wait, but what is it? A communications device. It uses the branches as a massive antenna, capable of transmitting information great distances, though it's likely transmitting to Adastra City. There is likely a second spy there, who then beams the information through a much more powerful machine, straight to Amorpha. Neferu grins in Alex's face. Isn't that right, Alex? Once again, Alex remains silent, seeming to have shut down. So, do you want to be the one to tell Cassius, Marco? That finally gets a reaction out of Alex, and he stiffens up, fur bristling out as he snarls at Neferu. And for what reason, Jackal? We're all spies here, including you. Especially you. Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about, Alex. Neferu's tone says otherwise. Alex continues to glare up at the jackal, his fur starting to lay flat again. Oh, you think I'm stupid? You think I would just let you fuck me without any regard for your intentions, without studying you? I know why you're here, Jackal. Do enlighten me, cat. You're floundering here, looking to make a name for yourself. The Pharaoh practically tossed you off the planet to attempt to cultivate a hopeless alliance on Adastra. The Pharaoh's eyes narrow. How unfulfilling it must be to be the second-born, unable to escape the shadow of your brother, unable to make father proud, stuck on this moon getting your balls kicked in by the bigot wolves. Alex sounds and looks almost unrecognizable. Even your sisters,
The third and fourth born have secured positions of greater prestige than you.
I see Neferu's grip tighten into Alex, but the cat goes on.
In an era when the royal family has already given up so much power, you're desperate behind a facade of confidence, terrified of withering away into historical insignificance. You will be less than a footnote in the Chemian history books.
Neferu isn't smiling anymore, and I can tell that he's been caught off guard just as much as me by the cat's complete change in character. Still, he keeps his hold on the cat, remarking coolly, I would choose my words more carefully if I were you, considering your position right now. As I was saying, we'll be reporting this to the Emperor as soon as we return to the palace. Alex seems to deflate again, apparently satisfied with the hits he'd gotten in on the jackal.
What do you want? Don't play stupid. What do you want from me? You've known I was a spy since you first got here. You're only doing this now because you want something.
Oh, how considerate of you. Well, the fairy looks up at me. What do you think we want, Marco? Full access to the archives. Alex snorts.
I don't have that.
Then get it. We know how close you are to Cassius. Make something up as to why you need it, then grant us access.
For what reason?
To help Amicus. Cassius will not be harmed by this. You have until next week, otherwise the Emperor will know of your treason. Actually, was that me talking or was that Neferu? Oh, it was Neferu talking. I'm an idiot. To help Amicus, Cassius will not be harmed by this. You have until next week. Otherwise, the Emperor will know of your treason. Alex remains quiet, and Neferu seems satisfied with that, pushing off the cat and getting to his feet. Let us be off. The jackal speaks briskly to me before turning on his heel and making his way back to the craft. I look down at Alex, watching as the cat simply stares at the moons, not even acknowledging me. The way back is a bit awkward, and Neferu quite quiet, clearly upset. I still haven't really seen him like this before, and I have to remind myself, I probably rarely see the real Neferu. He's putting on an act just like Alex, just like they both have to. And though I'm curious about his family situation, I have enough sense not to pry. Instead, I ask what I'm most worried about. What's to stop Alex from betraying us? He could just as easily tell Cassius about our plot. The jackal is staring off into the water, his elbow on the railing of the sightseer as he hunches over. He won't. He can't bear the thought of Cassius knowing of his betrayal. The usual confidence and natural smugness that's usually in the jackal's voice is completely missing, his tone flat. You sure? Yes. His love for Cassius is almost equal to that of his loyalty to Amorpha, which is why I assured him that Cassius won't be harmed by our plans. We have little to worry about. The jackal's mood puts me off from asking any more questions, and we sail the rest of the way to the palace in silence. Okay, I think we're going to stop here. Three days later. Okay. I think. Yes. Okay. That was Adastra Part 5, friends. We've got, I think that either next part or the part after that, we'll be able to finish this, because we're chugging through it. Like, we're chugging through it. Either one or two more sessions and we'll be done. In any case, I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys had fun tonight. If you enjoyed what you saw tonight, I don't just do Adastra readings. Most of the time I'm playing video games or doing art. So tune in for that. Give me a follow if you like. I'm going to quickly check a couple things. Let's cut to the end screen here quickly. So, I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves tonight. It was interesting. I was stuttering over my words a lot more than I normally like to. I'm not really totally satisfied with the job I did reading, but overall it was fun. We got through a lot. It was exciting. We even got someone to come and voice other lines for a bit. This will be an exciting episode if I ever decide to edit it. So, official end credits. Thanks to everyone for coming by. If you guys liked what you saw tonight, please consider giving me a follow, a friend, or a subscribe. I always follow and friend back, always, always, always. If you want to keep up with the channel more and see what I'm doing, scroll down to the panel section and click the Discord button to join my Discord. You can do fun things like participate in streams, post memes, curate music, see my up-to-date schedule, cyberbully me, and more, all in one convenient place. Also down there, next to the Discord button, you'll find a YouTube button. The YouTube button will take you to my YouTube archive, where most but not all of my streams go to die, and you can see the wide variety of stuff we have streamed over the past almost 3 years. Going forward, next stream is tomorrow, and we are wrapping up a series, the very last episode of Sweden-Napoleon Total War. 17 episodes. I started this almost a full 2 years ago. Almost. That was a huge fart. I'm so sorry. I just ripped major ass. Oh, it smells nasty too. Anyway. Yeah, we're doing Napoleon Total War Sweden campaign, final episode, Conquer England. Then, that's happening tomorrow. It's going to happen at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so the Europeans can watch as well. Because they seem to like my Napoleon Total War streams. Then the other plans for the rest of the month. Next week, we're doing Doom Eternal, Episode 3. We're doing a Gary's Mod session with some friends. And we're... my first ever Gary's Mod session, actually. I've never played it before. And then we're going to do hopefully an art stream. If time runs out, that's my bonus stream for that week, so if I need to delete a stream, I'm deleting the bonus stream. That's how we do things around here. And then the last week of July, we have the first Medieval Total War campaign. We'll be playing, Medieval Total War 2. We'll be playing as, I believe we're going to be playing as the Holy Roman Empire, just because it's a nice central spot and I can take over everyone around me. I'm going to have a very special all-day piracy marathon where I play Sea of Thieves for, like, hopefully as much of the day as I can, like about 12 hours or so. Like, between 12 to 16 hours. There will be breaks, of course, but we're going to marathon it. The bonus stream that week is hopefully going to be what might be the very last episode of reading Adastra, and I'm looking forward to wrapping this up. It gets very, as you can see, it gets very dramatic, it gets very emotionally intense too. So, yeah, I hope you guys are excited going forward. Also, I have been accepted officially to my new job. I don't have a lot of hours for this month because most of the slots for the work that I do have been filled for this month, but I'm going to be working hopefully more frequently in August. I've already handed in my schedule then, so once that's like kind of confirmed, hopefully by the weekend, I will be able to not only post the entire month of August what the streams will be each week, but I'll be able to post the exact date and time for the entire month. Usually I have to wait and do it on a week-by-week basis because of my previous work and the chaos of my schedule, but now I can just have the whole month blocked out, knowing exactly when I'm going to stream, and I can set aside work time to make sure that I have time to stream. And I'm really excited about that. Also means I can maybe pursue some other creative endeavors. Hopefully means maybe the YouTube channel I want to start can get off the ground. I'm sorry, my words are getting sloppy here. In any case, I'm gonna pass you guys off. We're at the end of the stream here, right? Let's pass you guys off somewhere. I'm gonna pass you guys off to my friend Nick Castle. We're gonna go pay him a visit. I want everyone to be ready. Get ready to raid, you cowards. Raid! Raid! That's what I like to see. Let's go!